Okay, hello. I don't know why the music just stopped all of a sudden. That was quite strange. And now I have to make sure that this is recording. Are you recording, my love? Otherwise, I'll have to download this off of YouTube later. Settings output recording path. Okay, let's just make sure that this is recording. I do the, live stream and it records at the same time. G videos, Twitch streams. Yeah. Settings, output, recording. Yeah, I mean, it should be fine. So here's the deal. Here's why it's being weird all of a sudden here. Because I just replaced a bunch of components in my computer. Functionally, it's a new computer. So we've got new things happening. I just don't want to have to download it off of YouTube later. It'll be much better quality if I can just... Did you fix your text situation? Yeah, so basically what happened is my GPU kicked it finally. And instead of just replacing the GPU, because all of my other components are also really old, or they were, because we built this computer in 2019. And we replaced the power supply at some point, we replaced the case at some point, but the motherboard, processor, RAM, and video card were all from 2019. And they were mid, maybe even not new parts in 2019. I mean, we purchased them new, but it was already a kind of outdated video card. So we cut into our savings a little bit and we figured out some decent quality parts, put together a little build, and then I spent I want to say 3 or 4 hours of my day yesterday disassembling my computer and reassembling it with the new parts. So, I mean, I'm super glad that we have the opportunity to just kind of make those changes on short notice if need be. So, it definitely put me behind a little bit. Definitely put me behind, but it ended up being, not a huge deal. But for some reason it just doesn't want to record. And I would really like it to do that. So I'll just keep vamping while I figure out what's going on here. Because I would really, again, like to have this on my computer. Yeah, of course it makes Windows grouchy. Windows 10 ransomware protection. Windows security. So, how has everybody been the last week and a half or so? I have had a very eventful time. It's been quite eventful. First of all, I went to the little barbecue thing that I go to every summer, which was good. Windows security. Let's see. Yeah, so we had a pretty good time. It doesn't have controlled folder access. And there's definitely sufficient space. Why are you being like this? So it was a good time. I mean, it was not a completely 100% good time, because there was at least one thing that occurred that was wow, we got really pissed off and annoyed about it. But it's resolved now. We won't have to deal with it next year. So that's good. I really just don't understand why it's being like this. I can temporarily save to the local disk C, but why? I'm definitely allowed to... The ransomware is not on. Or rather, the controlled folder access is not on. Turn it back off, okay? And I definitely have permission to read and write there. It's so strange. It is being really slow about loading. I have an external drive where a lot of this stuff gets saved, so it's like, do I just need to put it up on the local disk C drive for now? Maybe. Anyhoozle. Oh, no, hold on. Can you hear me? Is it being stupid again? Why? Now it's freezing up on me. I would close that. It's been running so smoothly, and then now, of course, as soon as I turn on the live stream, it's like, oh, guess we're gonna not do some fundamentally simple things. Oh, God. Earnestly, get over it. Get over it, bud. Gonna need you to move on. Gonna need you to get over it. Okay. Yeah, it's just stopped being responsive in some ways. Later, Shakespeare. Have a good time at work. What's up, Agnes? My baby's getting 8 tie-dyed onesies. Nice. Yeah, my car tends to eat up my extra savings. Either that or taxes or insurance. There's always something. Okay, but seriously though, can you stop? Okay. Oh, of course. This is how it goes. Everything runs smoothly until you get on stream, and then it's like, oh, hey, there's a whole bunch of problems. So, oh well, I guess I'll download it off of YouTube later if I want to edit anything from this stream. For real though, like, now stuff's not going down to size the way it's supposed to. Okay, whatever. It's crazy how everything was running very smoothly on my very old components before, except for the fact that my GPU crashed 4 times in one day last week. Oh, that was rough. And then, okay, there we go. I might be moving to Iowa soon. Oof. I got to visit the community garden plot that I'm going to rent. Looks like it'll be perfect for me and my GF. Nice! Yeah, I went out to my community garden last week before... No, the hard drives are not among the components I replaced. Those are my, that's like the part that stayed the same, basically. I have an M.2, and that's my main drive. The drive that I record to is an external drive. How hard a crash did the airbags deploy? Not quite. It's just like, you know, when the display goes dark and it just stops doing things. Always great. Okay. So yes, I went to the party thing that I go to every year. That was a great time, you know, outdoors, sleeping in a tent. It was super hot though, super muggy. Shakespeare says, sharing joy, multiple all-trans beach parties this weekend are happening. Over 100 plus people at the dance party last night. Next one is community resource-based. Nice. Always be safe. Even if you're doing outdoor events, you want to make sure that we are observing community spread guidelines. Like, I went to this party and it's at somebody's house, but it's mostly outside. I only went in the house with my mask on if I needed to use the restroom. I stayed a distance away from people outside. I even tried not to stand downwind of other people. I kept like a distance between me and other people when we were having conversations. If there was a fan blowing, I tried to stand like close to the fan so that it would blow the air away. Yeah, it's being a little bit funky today. I don't know what your problem is, dude. This is bringing up memories of my first PC build, 512 megabytes of RAM, 56 gigabytes of hard drive, 1999 motherboard with a 512 megahertz Intel processor. Yeah, 2001 was hilarious. Everybody was masked even outdoors. Oh, that's awesome. I love. See, we can still do things. This is what people don't seem to understand. You can still go to parties. You can still hang out with people. You can still do things. Just wear a goddamn respirator. It'll cut back on community spread. Everybody will be great. So anyway, I am one more time gonna click the record button and see if it will work. And, then I'll be ready to move on. Dude, I've been having weird dreams lately. Anybody else? Strange dreams. What's up, Atreyu? Atreyu, were you the one who suggested one Oasis left? Because I am posting on my second channel more now. I just posted a video last week, and I'm gonna keep recording in that, and I'm actually doing stuff related to that channel. So, Minneapolis trans punk community is very conscious about still protecting our immunocompromised members. It's not like we don't have friends with HIV or other things. I'm vulnerable myself. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, of course, you know, in the queer community, there are always people who are disabled or have HIV or are otherwise immune compromised. It's just that, so like 30 odd % of queer people report that they have some kind of disability. And so, but that other 70%, it's like, what are y'all doing? They just don't really think about it that much. So a lot of the events and stuff are still, they're like, yeah, let's go dancing in a nightclub and not wear masks and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. But yes, happy Pride. Thanks for chilling. It is still Pride. It's so strange. I kind of think of Pride as being like one weekend, but it's the whole month, you know? Like, we're gay all the time. Yeah. I might have to go and make sure that all my settings for the stream are actually optimal when I'm finished here. Because it's like, or maybe I'm just going to have to fucking do the Windows 11 update. I don't want to, but I might have to. Yeah, it just says unable to write. Because there is sufficient disk space. Do I not have permission to write to that? I could swear that I do. Can I access permissions? Here we go. So yeah, since I've seen you, I went to this party. It was a good time. And let's see, my computer died. My partner and I replaced most of my computer parts. Oh, I got my hunting and fishing license sometime in the last couple of weeks. Like, in Kansas, you can buy a combo hunting and fishing license. And so I have that now. And then I also got my own fishing rod. They're not that expensive, it turns out. And you could, if you wanted to, get a fishing rod. You could actually go check out some garage sales, because they'll have that. Probably cheap ones, people trying to get rid of them. And it's not like you need a good fishing rod. A fishing rod's a fishing rod. You can just go and catch stuff. Not a big deal. Jamie Sweetheart says, I'm usually watching on my TV, so I have not been able to chat until now. Welcome in. Thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. Change permissions. I do have permission to write on the whatever. Okay. This is a Google the problem after stream kind of problem. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Never mind. I always get conservative boomers harassing me at work for wearing a mask, like, dog, immune compromised people exist. Yeah, honestly, I have not gotten any harassment, thankfully. I have not gotten any harassment, but I do think that people cough on purpose when they walk past me. Like, okay. I dreamed I was back in high school and had failed a class. I'm currently doing postdoctoral work and working on research and a dissertation topic. I guess I'm subconsciously questioning my ability to pass this time. I've had a bunch of high school dreams recently. It's very strange. You know, I don't understand why. Also, am I a little bit too loud? I keep clipping into the red just a tiny, tiny bit. So I just knocked it down slightly. Hopefully that'll be a little bit better instead of clipping into the red. I too struggle with not immediately jumping into trying to solve problems at inappropriate times. Well, I'm hoping at least that the settings enable me to download a full quality. Can you tell me real quick, you watching, are you able to watch in 1080 right now? Because previously sometimes the settings are borked so that it only goes in 720. But if you're seeing it in 1080, then I will be able to download it just fine. This is a rainbow fan, yes. I got it at Pride. Oh yeah, I did go to Pride also. That's another thing that's happened this month. 1080 is available. Okay, cool. Then I'm not worried about it right now. I'll deal with it later. Cool. Not a big deal. I'm a sophomore in college and I've had dreams where I was an adult stuck in middle school. Okay. Yes, Lux PC not still borked. Thankfully, we were able to change it up and get the parts. So, all good. But yeah, so the thing that I'm most excited about right now is that I am going to be able to post stuff on my second channel because I'm changing as a person, okay? You ever feel like you're going through a metamorphosis and you're like, oh, things are happening to me that I wasn't really expecting. Like waking up at 6 a.m. to go fishing. We did that this weekend and it's quite strange. It was beautiful too. So I'm going to post a picture on my second channel, which I did finally rename. It's at One Oasis Left. And I'm going to be posting videos there and pictures and stuff. Probably anytime I want to talk about climate change, I'm going to post it over there. The coughing on purpose, especially, I live in a white frat boy town, so they love to harass me on the street wearing a mask, cough dramatically on me, or yell, mask off. So you do have a duty to retreat in most places, but if someone coughs on you and you retreat and they continue following you and coughing on you, you have the right to assault them, basically. I mean, it's not assault in that case. They're assaulting you by doing something that you feel puts your life reasonably at danger. Like whether they could be infected or not. They don't know, you don't know. It's kind of like if someone was brandishing a gun at you, you don't know if it's loaded or not. And you have the right to self-defense. So if someone is coughing on you and you try to move away and they continue doing it, you can shove them or smack them or something along those lines. I missed Pride because I thought my car was borked, but it turned out to be something minor I still could have drove it with. Listen, you don't want to mess with it. When it's your car, you want to make sure that everything's functional. Because if you're driving it, maybe the issue isn't a difficult thing right now, but then it's going to be a more expensive issue if you keep driving it. Hello, Max. My dad would wake me at 2 a.m. to be at the lake by 3 a.m. He did not like having to pay the fee. So what, you just go in the middle of the night? Coughing on someone is considered assault with a deadly weapon. It has been since long before COVID. Yeah. And like, so in lots of places, like I think in Kansas, if someone is doing something to you, you are allowed to have like a proportional response that will get them to stop, but you can't escalate. So I'm sure it depends on where you live too, like if coughing on someone is considered assault with a deadly weapon, but like, you know, you probably can't like escalate the violence in most cases. Yeah, what's up, Igor? The heat. Oh my lord. In Kansas here right now, it's been greater than 90 degrees Fahrenheit for a while. And looking at the weather for the next week, it's just 91, 93, 95, 93, 95. Like, oh my God. There's a reason why we woke up at 6 a.m. to go fishing, because you can't go in the middle of the day. And you could go in the evening, but then like you still have all the residual heat from the day. So yeah, if for no other reason, then it's just practically impossible to do anything during the day. I'm gonna become a 6 a.m. person, you know? I don't want to. I'm not keen on it, but it's just gonna happen because holy shit. It's ridiculous being so hot. Yes, I did see that the Florida judge blocked the trans care ban. That's kind of sort of on my list of things to talk about today. I've heard we're going to hit the triple digits in Michigan. Michigan. That's like hundreds of miles north of where I live. I've been doing Instacart and the store's air conditioner units are definitely not keeping up. I am too cold natured for this shit. Ugh. Nightwalkers rejoice. It's like, am I going to become a night person or am I just going to become a super duper duper early morning person? Mersh says, a man spit on the mayor of a small town's car door handle. A DNA test was taken. The person was charged with a felony. Ever since the AIDS epidemic, it is a felony in Virginia to deliberately try to give someone an infectious disease. Someone deliberately coughing or spitting on you can be classified as felony assault. Yeah. But again, in a lot of places, you have a duty to retreat. You know, if someone is harassing you or assaulting you, your first responsibility legally is to create distance between yourselves, like between you and the other person, to like get away from them, as opposed to retaliating. Michigan here will be hot this week. Yeah. There are whole cultures where it's like the opposite of what we think of as winter hibernation, where if it's summertime, they basically just sleep during the day and like all the activity happens in the early morning and the late evening and into the night. It's been over 105 degrees in the Mojave. The swamp cooler keeps it 78 inside. 78 is still really hot. Year after year now, I'm so glad I lucked into where I live. I had no idea where I was moving when I left Arizona. The guy I moved to do a store with had to change locations while I was actually en route to Oregon. Ended up finding a little house for rent same day, and I moved in from the truck still. That's crazy. Especially because I've been looking at rentals in Oregon. I'm trying to price things out, you know, figure out what kind of locations are available, what kind of expectations there are going to be for rent. I'm hoping that there will be more places available as we get closer to the winter because of like, so like different places have different times of the year where all the rentals become available. You know, in the past, I've lived in like, or like near colleges. And if you live near a college, then a lot of the rentals are going to be available in the fall because that's when people move in, that's when people move out. Decoy Duck, what's up? And I'm hoping, you know, that there will just be more availability because most other places, if you're not living right next to a school, it's more like January to January kind of thing. Yes, rent is very high in Oregon. It's crazy. And it's easily going to be several $1,000s to move. Rent will be dropping through this year, I hear. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Definitely hoping by the time we get to like November, hopefully we'll be able to get a place that's a little bit less expensive. Get prepared to move. It's going to be monumental. It's going to be crazy. There are 61 people in here. So this is the part of the show where we just kind of shoot the shit. We will talk about serious news in a little bit. I have like 2 or 3 stories that I could talk about. We're definitely going to talk about the trans girl jawbroken for using the boys' bathroom. I planned on talking about how Florida, they had like a trans care ban, basically, and that has been officially stopped in the courts, at least until it moves further up through the appeals court situation. And then maybe one other thing. Oh yeah, there was a story about an intersex kitten in Oregon that I wanted to talk about because I just thought that would be a little fun story. Moving sucks so much. Listen, I moved 3 times in 2 years. You know, like I moved twice in 1 year, twice in a row. Careful where you move in Washington or Oregon if you are near or downriver from the Hanford nuclear site. Where is that? Where is Hanford nuclear site? Benton County in Washington on the Columbia River. Oh yeah, that's much further east than I was planning on living, so I think I'll be okay. Like a stream. True. Atreyu says, I grew up in southern Spain. On a summer day, the locals mostly stay at home or in shade. There is a saying in that part of Spain, only crazy people, dead people, or tourists bathe in the sun. True. Moving interstate especially sucks. I've done it twice. I have never moved across state lines in my adulthood. I don't think. And even when I did move across state lines, it was like from Kansas City, Kansas to Kansas City, Missouri. Pretty short distances, all things considered. But yeah, a 2,000-mile move is just something else. Oh, God. Are you talking about moving to Washington? I just got here. Congratulations, Riffs No Leads. I am probably going to move to Oregon. Because, as you've just evidenced, lots of people are moving to Washington, and there's already a pretty high population density in that western part of the state. And there's 2, like, airports in Seattle, Tacoma, and, like, more and more and more people are going to keep moving there. So there's going to be less and less space to be away from folks, and we're just not very keen on living in a big city. So we're going to find someplace, you know, probably a few hours south of, you know, everybody keeps moving to Washington. I'm going to move a little bit further south from that. I moved from Florida to Utah last year with my parents. Before Florida, I lived in Maine. Oh my God. Those are huge distances. Let me move from the furthest north state, aside from Alaska, down to the furthest south state. Continental, whatever, and then move basically like almost all the way across the country to Utah. If you're in Utah, you might as well just scooch a couple states over to the left. Oh, I just got here to the stream. I've lived in Washington all my life. Nice. Congratulations. Be careful, any rural area in Oregon is Nazi territory. Yeah. I'm sure that it's not going to be ideal. I mean, even in Portland, I know someone who lives in Portland, and even there, you'll run into Proud Boys. Hello, Gayfish. Hello. Hopefully everybody's having a good time. And we traveled with 2 cats. I have 1 cat, and it's like part of the whole costs of moving across the country is going to be taking him to the vet so that I can get some Benadryl or something to drug him for the 3 days of driving. Because otherwise, and even maybe even if he is drugged, this is going to be the experience. Ow! 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 It's going to be like every 5 seconds or less. We've done it before. We road tripped with him. Like, we picked him up from my mother-in-law's place, like about 8 hours drive away, and we drove him back to where we live, and wow, it was constant. So 3 days of that, I'm not psyched about. So we're gonna drug him. Eastern Oregon and Washington is full of Nazis. Yeah. I'm basically planning on moving, so Portland is at the very top of the state, like right on the state border with Washington. And then, like, if you drive like 3 hours south, you get to Eugene, right? And that's the whole, I forget what the name of the valley is, but there's like a valley in the northwest corner. And I'm like, somewhere in there, somewhere in that general vibe. It's like Eugene, Salem, Portland, like somewhere in that general location. Benadryl is over the counter at most pet stores in a liquid. I just want to make sure I get the dosing right. He's a big fat cat. And I just want to make sure that I don't goof anything. Like, if I give him too little and he's really stressed out, or if I don't want to give him too much and like overdose him. Thanks, Screw and Tuna. Nothing shuts them up. They will be so sleepy, but they will yell. All right, good to know. Good to know. There's just nothing I can do. It's like, I just want him to be chill. I just want him to be less freaked out. My cat reacted to your meows and is now mad at me. I'm sorry. What a good baby. Yeah, maybe I'll look into, like, I don't even know if there's a... Yeah, I mean, I guess there's pet stores. I don't know. I just always feel best if I'm going to give my cat medicine to, like, check in with the vet. I trust my vet a lot. They've dealt with some issues for us before. Mine did that meowing for 18 hours the last interstate move. It was brutal. Oh, and it's like a 30-hour drive. Yeah. Advice for interstate move: if you need any specialized healthcare, investigate the availability of it in the area you're considering. Thankfully, yeah, we don't really have a lot of specialized healthcare needs. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get a hold of somebody up there to continue my Ritalin prescription. But, ooh, and here's another exciting development for me. I am gonna get the birth control implant thing in your arm, which I would have gotten before when I got my IUD, which has now been taken out. I would have gotten that before, but it was like $1,000 and there was no sliding scale fee. There was no help, no coverage, no anything. Oh, I don't have an insurance. So if you had insurance, of course it's free. But yeah, but now there's like some Title X funding essentially available. So I am going to get that little birth control implant thing in my arm, and then I don't have to deal with birth control for 3 years. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, the little matchstick thing. It's like about yay big. It's real skinny. They put in like, they put it in like this like fatty part under your arm, right? they anesthetize. They do some lidocaine on one side and then lidocaine on the other side. And then there's like a thing that they slide in there, and it's like, it like shoots it out into your arm. And it's apparently a pretty quick procedure. So I get to wake up. Well, it helps a little bit that I've been waking up so early this weekend, because I'm going to wake up early tomorrow to get that installed. Also, in Oregon, healthcare is a guaranteed constitutional right. If you make under an income threshold, they just put you on Medicaid. I don't think I'm going to be under the income threshold. That's the question. It's like, hopefully the place where my husband works has health insurance. I don't know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep paying out of pocket for everything. I know, science is so cool. Birth control. Yay. And then I won't have to deal with it. Ooh, we're almost at 69 viewers. Can we get to 69 likes? Okay, let me make sure I have my my links ready so that when we start talking about the topics, we can have them just booked up and ready to go. So, thank you all so much for posting a bunch of stuff in the Discord, in the stream recommendations channel. That always helps me refine what I'm going to be talking about. Helps me figure out, okay, like, I know, like, yes, Lynn Conway passed away. I don't know that I have very much to say about that. And I'm sure that many, many other people are just covering it for the sake of covering it. But, you know, technology and microchips are not my special interest. So it's like, okay, I don't know that there's much that I can say about that. But, oh, here's an article about this region of Louisiana that has a high propensity of cancer from, like, chemical spills and stuff. Did I just hear a noise? I did hear a noise. Thank you so much, Opsis, for the $10.69 donation. How about 69 cents? Nice. Thank you so much. Do your homework on that arm implant. I had a few friends that did it. Did not go well. Even some LWT segments. What is LWT? Facebook groups had to take class action about it. Something about FDA cleared, not approved. I mean, yeah, I guess I haven't researched it intensely recently. I mean, basically, I was told that you might bleed really heavily for the first 3 to 6 months, but then after that, it's usually not an issue. But yes, thank you, Obsis, so much. Let me... Donation goal, $10.69. Spectacular. Now I need my chat back. Hello, chat. Welcome back. There we go. Yeah, and it's the Nexplanon that I'm supposed to be getting. The implant has been around for ages. I had a friend who got it with no issues like 20 years ago. I am the old. I know. I'm starting to realize how old I am. It's like when you get to 30, that's when it really starts to hit. Lynn Conway lived past 80. What makes it important, IMO, is she shows trans people can and do live healthy old lives. Absolutely, for sure. Oregon might have some Nazis, but they are nothing like the Nazis in Arizona. Kitty Tick says, my town and county are really very, very red, and I still feel safer here than in the city in Arizona, and especially the rural area I am from. Oh, last week tonight? Allison says, I thought it was just a high dose of the depot shot. My shot is good for 3 months and had the same risks. I did not go for Nexplanon because I have a high chance of seizures. The depot shot is apparently terrible for your bone density. So if you take the shot every 3 months for 2 years, that's like the maximum amount of time that you should take it before it can start seriously degrading your bones, which is why we did not go for that option. Because I already have musculoskeletal pain and complications. 34 is the year it really started hitting for me, saying, I've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah. In Louisiana, it's specifically chemical manufacturing. It's a gas that's synthesized in chemical plants. Yeah, no wonder it's getting into the breathable environment. Curious, weird. Strange how that works. Okay, huge win in Florida. Yes, I do have that. Yes, have the Florida thing. And then, yeah, my links about this assault. Let's see, let's just open a bunch of articles about that. Cool, there we go. Everything for birth control for female internals is bad in some way. Yeah, there is always going to be some kind of issue, I think. Which is why it's not the preferable option. This is why people bang on about, oh, you know, men should just get a vasectomy as soon as they turn 18. Like, okay, I understand what you're saying there. At the same time, a vasectomy is not always reversible, and it gets less reversible the longer you go. So if you got a vasectomy at age 18, and then you were 30 and you just got married and you want to start having a kid, there's a pretty good chance that it would not be reversible. And then you could technically, like, there's a procedure where they can go in and just extract sperm directly, because your balls still make it, right? That's the thing about a vasectomy, is it cuts the tubes that are connecting your balls to, like, the rest of the fluid, you know? And, like the vas deferens specifically. So you can hypothetically have a doctor go in and extract the sperm, and then you can use that in the same way that you can, like, go buy sperm and, like, use it for, you know, when people do, not surrogacy, that's not the right thing. You know what I mean? When people are trying to have babies and they buy sperm. But obviously that's not the same as being able to do the typical, here's how we make a baby process. So it really is, I think it's asking a lot of men when, you know, most, like, women, let's just say for shorthand reasons, women and trans men and blah, blah, blah. IVF, thank you, that's what I was trying to say. There's not really a heavy risk of infertility if, like, a person is on birth control forever. Whereas, and there are other health risks, like stroke and whatever, you know, there are other health possibilities. Like, I've been really constipated lately, and I suspect that it's because I'm on estrogen, and I hate estrogen so much. Like, I'm having a hard time, you know, building muscle. I'm having a hard time losing fat. It is so annoying, but it's not gonna, like, cause me potentially permanent infertility, you know? And unfortunately, we don't live in a society where you can just bank your sperm and it's no big deal, because it costs money. And what if the company that your sperm is being banked by goes under? Like, how are you going to know? How are you going to access that? It would be different if we actually put resources into protecting people's fertility. Like, if we, you know, provided free, like, okay, you have a sperm bank situation going on. And even then, you do have to be careful when you start using it, because you have a limited number of times that you can use that sperm for your person to get pregnant. And then, like, what if for some reason you can never quite get the timing right, and then you run out of your banked sperm? Like, okay, well, are you just SOL at that point? I think it's a big deal, and we should be more cautious asking people to do procedures that can permanently impact their fertility, is all I'm saying. Oh, are we at 69 likes? It's still showing me 68, but I'll say nice anyway. Oh Oh no. Got a splinter under my fingernail. No. I feel like at some point they'll just figure out how to make a new vas deferens to hook up. I also feel like we could save a bit for each man. It doesn't really cost much to store enormous amounts of the stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just a refrigerator, effectively. Oh, I haven't looked into this. Is that the case? There's a 1 to 3% chance of permanent infertility? Kitty Tick says, my sister-in-law could not have a baby without IVF because of using a low estrogen birth control. I don't know the number of women permanently impacted by it. I'm curious, because we would also have to see, like, okay, what's the number of women who experience infertility in general? Because this is the thing. People say, oh, if you take testosterone, then you're gonna, like, lose your fertility, you know, with people who are assigned female at birth and have uteruses and stuff. We always hear this. Oh, you're gonna lose your fertility. You can really impact your fertility. But, like, I've known people who've gotten pregnant, or I've known of people who've gotten pregnant on testosterone. So I think it's more of a, like, how many people were going to have infertility problems in the first place kind of thing versus how many of these people were actually impacted by the birth control or by the testosterone or whatever. Sperm out of luck. Yeah, all sorts of stuff that's difficult to tease out statistically regarding fertility and pregnancy and all that. We are 8 billion humans, so do we need more children? Debatable, sure. We certainly have more than enough resources to support the population. It's just a matter of distribution, I think. Also, no one complains about all the dumb shit that men do that have proven fertility risks. Absolutely. But it's like, I think it's a different conversation. You know, what are people willingly doing that just happens to be dumb that is putting their fertility at risk versus, like, we put all this responsibility on women and female people to, like, prevent their own pregnancies. And, like, there's a lot of expectation that, like, all the responsibility falls on us. And that is a lot of responsibility. I personally think that my having to protect myself from pregnancy for the last 16 years, I think that that has contributed somewhat, at least somewhat, to, like, how fastidious I am about COVID. Because, you know, it's the same type of deal where you have to use prophylactics and, like, so, like, wearing a mask, or I've started taking Streptococcus salivarius K12, which is a bacteria. It's like a healthy bacteria probiotic that basically it populates your mouth and your throat and your nose, and it outcompetes other things. So it reduces your potential for getting sick from a virus. Like, we've given little kids this probiotic, you know, little kids who don't wear masks consistently and who go to kindergarten and go to daycare and whatever. And the kids who you give this bacteria to have a lower propensity for viral disease. So yeah, I'm doing all these things because protecting myself from COVID in a lot of ways is like protecting myself from pregnancy, because pregnancy can permanently alter your life. It can kill you. It can disable you. And same thing with COVID, you know, you can have, like, serious long-term complications about it. Also important to remember that for hormonal birth control, it can be vital in order to protect the fertility of people with endometriosis, right? Because if you end up with a bunch of scar tissue from endometriosis, it can prevent your ability to get pregnant. Definitely a problem. I was watching a video the other day of a streamer with a chat that did not know the difference between a vasectomy and an orchiectomy. Oh, geez. I'm enjoying the fan. I like gesticulating with a fan. I don't like talking about the news. I don't want to talk about the news. Y'all know when I go off on a tangent and I talk about like homesteading and growing chickens and stuff? Can you drop a link to that probiotic? I mean, you can just check it on Amazon. If you just look up S. salivarius K12, you can find a bunch of... There's even an Amazon brand option that you can get. There's this assumption that having children is always a desirable outcome. That's not to say we should prevent people having kids, but we also shouldn't push this idea that biological children is always the end goal for our lives, the way some pronatalists like to frame it. Yeah. And like, I haven't talked about it with my partner in a long time, but for a while, most of our relationship, it's been like, yeah, let's not. You know, we like our hobbies. We enjoy the free time that we have. And of course, like, I am going to be saddled with the majority of the responsibility if we were to produce a human child. Like, my partner works full time. I'm the one with a flexible schedule. So obviously I'm going to be the one doing like 95% of the actual childcare. And like, I'm the one who has to give a bunch of physical resources of my body to grow an entire human person. So like, yeah, like, am I willing to do that? Am I interested in doing that? Would we rather adopt or something, you know? Forget talking about the news. Let's talk about the old. Y'all hear about Technicolor? Ooh, that does remind me, Gayfesh. I don't know if you watch Corridor Crew, but they posted a video not too long ago about like there was basically like this really cool crystal that they would put in front of the camera lens so that they could produce like some of the crispest, effectively green screen effects, but that could handle transparency and could handle like big curly hair instead of all this like chunkiness and like fine like manual editing that has to happen. These, what is it called? You just said Technicolor and it reminded me of that. The magic lens. Okay, maybe I'm just gonna find this on the channel, actually. Don't you dare. Okay. It was a very recent video. This invention made Disney millions, but then they lost it, is the title of the video. Is it in the description? Disney's magic prism that created the best transparency mats. We thought that prism was lost until we found it. Very cool video, very worth watching. Yeah, it's like a single wavelength of light. My partner watches Corridor Crew, but I only just recently got into watching any of their videos. What if you produce a non-human child, say a dragon spawn? That would maybe be acceptable. But I would have to live in a stone house, you know, to lessen the likelihood of it catching fire. We don't have to make everyone feel like their lives have to end with them saving lives with science. There's lots of ways to be a benefit to yourself and to humanity that don't require child raising. Right. Listen, maybe it would be a benefit for me to, like, be more of a mentor to people who I don't have direct responsibility over. Because it's a whole different thing. Having like active responsibility, and especially living with someone that you're like, okay, I need you to do these fucking dishes. Like, you didn't do them when I told you to do them before. I'm expecting you to do the fucking dishes, you know? Like, having to teach a person how to be a person is crazy. It really is. It's wild. I did watch that video the other day, and I was thinking this technology needs to have a comeback. I checked, those bulbs are not that expensive for film equipment. You can get 5 of them for $200 or something. That is not expensive, considering, yeah, these multi-million-dollar film franchises. Why not? Please, this needs to catch on. This needs to be the future of green screen technology. Throwback to the future. I have not figured out how to be a person myself yet. I feel like I have a pretty decent handle on it. I'm definitely way better than I was like 5 years ago. But we're all in a process. We're all growing. We're all changing. That's one of the beautiful things about being a person, you know? You're never done learning. You're never done becoming. Like, becoming is an ongoing process. Okay, why are you like this? I think Technology Connections has a video about the sodium lamps. Oh, okay, yeah, that seems like it would be just up his alley. I have plenty of woods for shooting creepy, scary movies or fairy tales. Very nice, yeah. I think that's the ideal, you know? If you're gonna live on some land, I don't want to have, like, a couple acres of flat land right next to someone else's couple acres of flat land. I'd rather have a bunch of trees. Once, way back in the day, I actually did live, we were renting, but I lived on some land that was 35 acres, and 10 of that was prairie, and the rest was woods, and it was so cool. Ooh, gotta drink some water. Drink water, y'all. I am actually pretty warm. I think maybe I'll put the chair up a little bit. Ugh. Up a little bit. There we go. That's better. Trees and mountains. Right. I've never lived somewhere where there's mountains. I've lived in Kansas and Missouri my entire life. So living somewhere where there's mountains is going to be cool. I was actually just thinking, I think the weirdest thing about moving from the Midwest to the Pacific Northwest is going to be that there are tons of trees up there, but I'm pretty sure it's like majority pine trees. Correct me if I'm wrong. But here, obviously, most of our trees are deciduous. I've been to places with mountains before, to be clear. I have been to the ocean in Florida, and I have been to the mountains. So it's not going to be like a brand new experience for me to see either of those things, thankfully. Oh, also, I did make a couple of little changes in the background. I don't know if you've noticed. I still have my guitar, but I moved it over a little bit, and now I'm going to keep my bow and my fishing rod right there. Actually, is it? It might be tall enough that I could keep my arrows over there and you'd be able to see them. Yeah? Yeah. Cool. Cool. Yeah, cool. No, I will not be a dwarf terrified by seeing the sky for the first time. Like, I've been to Denver, you know? I know what mountains are like. Yes, Lee, welcome in. I am moving to PNW. Probably, like, Eugene or Portland or something like that. Kitty Tick says we have a nice flat space where the house is, and then an acre of grass under the power lines. excuse me, the sand pit is about 60 feet down and full of willow trees and elderberries. Those are pretty young. And then about 23-ish acres of mature trees, 30 to 60 years old, with a patch of 100-plus year trees and a winding creek through the woods at the sand pit layer, so I have lots of topography. Yeah, so much variation. Oh my goodness, that's so good. We're talking about streetlights in the YouTube chat right now. Trees and mountains, trees and mountains. Yes, I have also heard that it rains a lot in the Pacific Northwest. I've wondered, is it even worth it to get solar panels if you have a house in the Pacific Northwest? I probably still would, because it will have some amount of benefit. How have I never noticed the dragon wings on your chair? Dragon wings! Yes, they are cute. I stole the idea from someone else. There are very few places in the world where solar panels aren't worth it. Yeah. Yeah. Even if they're not the most highly effective, obviously they're the most effective under direct sunlight, but yeah. You'll still get some power, for sure. In the deepest part of winter, debatable. But especially if it's only supplementary anyway. Not a big deal. The biggest issue with solar panels is theft. We successfully got to 69 likes today. Look at us. I'm going mostly wind because I designed a rip-off of an upright turbine. When I am this close to the ocean, I get wind 350 days a year. Oh, true. Fair enough. Even in winter in the north of the US, you get more sun than here in Sweden, and people have solar panels on their roofs here. Yes. Good stuff. Okay. So I'm kind of looking at what the news stories are for today and, like, which ones we're going to go in depth on. Yeah, as long as it's just rain, it may be safer in PNW than here in Kansas with hail. Yeah, we've been getting crazy hail with these tornado storms recently. Let's see. I might have to run to the restroom really quick. And then we can get into some of these stories. Because I have 1, 2, maybe... I don't know. Maybe I will do this one and maybe I won't. 3, 4. So maybe we'll do like 3 segments today. Like 3 proper segments. And then we'll enjoy chilling and shooting the shit for the rest of the time. I realized we started playing Cats Are Liquid, and then I don't think we finished, so we can always, like, hop on and do a level of Cats Are Liquid before the end. There's lots of stainless steel in my turbines. The weight helps them generate more power after passing the inertia point. Ooh, there you go. Ugh. I do think I should have gone to bed earlier this weekend if I was going to be getting up at 6 a.m. to go fishing. Carefully placed weights on the outside of the wheel will help keep them spinning for a bit if the wind dies down. Nice. Nice. But yeah, so if you didn't see, I posted a video a couple days ago, and then I also posted on my second channel. But so we're going to keep talking about the trans-specific issues on this channel for a bit. And then I'm going to be gradually talking more on the other channel about these like survival skills and the homestead thing and the gardening and all this. And it'll probably be a couple years before I'm like doing that the majority of the time. But like, yeah, we're definitely going to try to mix things up and not focus in constantly on how bad the news is all the time. Obviously, like, I still have to cover those things because that's how I make money on my channel. And I'm trying to save up money to make this big move. But there's a good chance that if I can get the other content to take off, then I might gradually phase out this content. But like I said, it's probably going to be a few years before we start really looking at minimizing what's going on this channel. But if you haven't already, go to like youtube.com/@1oasisleft, all one word, and you can find my second channel. Already started fishing, got my hunting license, and I'm figuring out where exactly I can go to hunt up some rabbits. So, oh my God, I'm just going to take a little aside really quick. I made some chicken soup this week that was so good. Because what I'll do is I'll buy like several chickens, and they're relatively small, and I butcher them. Like, I mean, I buy like a packaged frozen chicken, right? Or a refrigerated chicken. And I butcher it. I take off the quarters, I leave the thighs and the legs together, and then I take off the breasts, and then I take off the wings, right? And those are like the major pieces of meat on the chicken. And the day that I do that, I take the carcasses and I throw them into my stock pot, and I put a bunch of water in, a bunch of salt. This time I actually, for a while, I had been saving, you know, when you cut onions and carrots and you have like the top of the onion or the carrot that you don't use? Well, I saved a bunch of those, put them in my freezer so that when I made stock this week, I could throw that stuff in there along with the carcasses. And then I actually I removed the carcasses when I was ready to actually make the soup. I was like, I have all this broth now. So I took out the carcasses and I actually stripped all the meat off of the carcasses. And that was like a pile of meat. And that's what I ended up making the chicken soup out of. But it made me realize like, oh, this would be an excellent way to cook rabbit. Because I'm going to have like a whole rabbit. And I could, you know, actually probably I would just leave all the meat on it. Or maybe cut certain parts of the meat off of it. And then like, but you have all this like amazing protein and collagen and stuff that you can get from those bones. And I'm like, man, maybe that's the way that I'm going to cook rabbit the first time I get some rabbits. Like if I just kill 2 rabbits and skin them and gut them and everything, and then like just cook their whole carcass. Oh man. Oh man. Ah. I've never eaten rabbit before, though. I don't know how it's going to taste. The main thing I have to learn right now is about the battery field. I need to have a charge-discharge setup with them charging and discharging in sequence instead of draining a whole battery before moving to the next. Yeah. It's tricky. Everything tastes like chicken, I hear. People have this term, they are like, it tastes really gamey, and I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm sure I'll find out. Rabbit season is all year in Kansas. I can hunt them up anytime I feel like it. Rabbit is lean, so it will be very chicken-like, yes. Yeah. You definitely don't want it to be your primary source of meat. because it's so lean. But yeah. But yeah, I'm excited. Learning new skills, doing stuff. It's chicken-like. Rabbit fur makes amazing hats and stoles. Yeah. Eventually I will get to a point where I'm saving the furs, but probably not at first. I think at first I'm just going to focus on the one thing at a time. Like, okay, I'm going to get good at... First of all, I have never shot a rabbit before. Hold on. I'm going to show you. I got these new tips for my... So, hold on. So these are my arrows. You know? They're halfway decent. Carbon. And these are the tips that are on them right now. These are just field tips. Is this the one that's... No, this is not the one that's deformed. These are my field tips. These are for target shooting. And you could hypothetically use this to shoot rabbits too. But, like, it's not necessarily the best option. But you have... These are called judo tips. And you can get them blunted, but I got the sharp ones. And they have this, like, claw thing. And the purpose of the claw thing is if you miss... Hold on, let me switch this out, actually. I want to show you. I killed a rabbit with a machete once, but it was a mercy killing because my cat had mauled and then abandoned it. Oh, that's so sad. What a meanie. Okay, so this is how it looks on the bow, or on the arrow, right? So the way that this works is if you miss your target, this will, like, skirt along the ground and, like, catch and flip your arrow up a little bit so that you don't lose your arrow. Because a lot of the times when you're working with these field tips, even when I'm just on the field doing target practice, if you miss the target, which does happen when I'm shooting at longer distances because I only have a 20-pound bow and it's not very accurate at longer distance, but, you know, this is so smooth. And if, you know, you're shooting at this angle and, you know, so you shoot straight and then the arrow starts to fall. So it does this, and then it'll just kind of, like, go underneath the grass. And then you're grateful for your yellow or orange tail feathers, because then you can find it. But sometimes, like, there's only this much of the arrow is not underneath the grass. Like, it just goes right under the grass. So yeah, if you're hunting in the woods, the likelihood of this thing getting stuck under some... you know, under some brush, under some leaves, very high propensity. So you get this, and it's going to... so that you don't lose your shit. So, yeah, I'm basically all set to go hunting. I just need to make the time to do it. Probably in the evening, because rabbits aren't going to be up and around at 6 a.m., and they're not going to be active in the hot part of the day. So, yes. You can soak deer in buttermilk and it helps with the gaminess. Okay. Kansas must consider them to be varmints. Farm country and rabbits are pests. Yeah, basically, in Kansas, rabbits are considered pests. You're allowed to bag 10 of them per day, and you're allowed to possess 30 of them. So you could go out 3 days in a row and shoot 10 rabbits, and then start eating them, you know? Cool. People describe rattlesnake and bull snake as like chicken, but snake tacos are actually better than chicken to me, to be honest. I seem to have issues with chicken protein, though. Okay, fair enough, yeah. Alligator has an aftertaste that distinguishes it from chicken. Lord Byron says it tastes like chicken. Frog legs also have an aftertaste that distinguish it from chicken. Yum. So yeah, this is what the second channel is for. On this channel is where I do my live streams, so obviously we're going to talk about it periodically here. But the main thing... Unfortunately, here we still talk about the news and the bleh and the bleh. But it's fun. I love cooking and I'm good at it. So if, you know, just expanding the kind of stuff that you're cooking. Oh man, when we go out fishing, everything smells so amazing. Like when you're, out walking around near a lake or whatever, and it makes me want to bring my foraging book. Actually, do I have... I think I have at least one foraging book, if not two. But it makes me want to bring my foraging book so that I can start identifying stuff. Gotta look at the plants. What are the plants? Try to get a positive identification. Hey! 10K reasons. Thank you so much for the $12 donation. They say, here you go, young dragon. We appreciate you. Be encouraged. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate you. Bringing us up to $22.69 for today's stream. I'm aiming for $100, by the way. I know times are tough for everybody, so no pressure, but I will take off my hoodie and flex my muscles. I've been bulking at the gym, so I'm building up a little bit of muscle. And I'm eating a shit ton of protein, so, that'll be fun. And also it's hot in my apartment, so if I take off the hoodie, it's not going back on. Okay, so here's the 3 topics I want to cover today, for sure. Tell me what order I should do them in, okay? We've got the title topic. Trans girl gets beat up for using the boys' bathroom. We've got Florida declares that the restrictions on gender-affirming care are unconstitutional. Yeah. And then the third is intersex kitten. I was kind of thinking maybe we should end on the kitten because that's like a nice feel-good story. Those are my thoughts anyway. Drink more water. Atreyu says, I'm wearing the same hoodie. What a coincidence. Yeah, and if you want to wear the same hoodie, you can click the link in the description to get some merchandise. Yeah, I'm warm. End in the kitten, do Florida in the middle and the bat up front. Yeah, do we want to just go it that way? That sounds great. Was gonna run to the bathroom, but... Yeah, things can go from bad to good. That sounds like a great thought. Yeah, let's go from bad to good. Yeah, so I have like 4 different articles open where we can talk about what happened to this teenager. Because it's a trans teenager, not like a trans adult who got attacked in the bathroom. So we'll start with that one. But I'm going to go to the restroom really quick. So don't go anywhere. Hit the like button. Make sure you're ready. Strap in for a content warning kind of thing. And I will leave you with the bugs and be back momentarily, okay? Don't go anywhere. I promise. We're going to talk about the issues. The issues. That's a Flight of the Conchords song. Anyway, okay. Don't go anywhere. Okay, hello, jump scare. Sorry, I fell in and I had to get retrieved by the fire department. Ooh, we lost a lot of viewers there. Sorry. It doesn't normally take me so long, but again, I fell in. Fire department had to be called. It was a whole ordeal. I had to wash my hands 8 times. You know how it is. So we're back now. Okay, well, let's try to get to 100 likes if we can. That would be wonderful. Shout out to the 40 of you, though, who are real ones, sticking through, waiting for me to get back. I appreciate you. Okay. So, was it a hot firefighter, you know? At least one of them. They gotta stay in shape, you know? Okay, so let's talk about this trans teen describing an attack. And I have like 3 different articles. I have 2 articles. There's one fundraiser, and then there's some commentary on Twitter that we'll read. So, tie up board DRRs to prevent that next time? Yeah, wouldn't that be... I actually, I have, you know how they sell, like, they sell the Squatty Potty. That's a thing that you can buy. I found a, like a Tupperware thing that's like about yay tall. And it's, you know, it's about yay wide. And I just put it in the bathroom so that I can, like, basically have what is functionally a Squatty Potty. Convenient. Yes. We're still here. The stream took a little bit of a hit, but hopefully we'll accumulate some back. Like, you know, if you haven't hit the like button, it immediately helps the channel. Sorry, I had to leave, had to take a break, go to the bathroom, wash my hands, all that. So, we're gonna recover the stream and start talking about the real issues. Oh my god, I'm also burpy. Disgusting. Yeah, how dare I have human needs on this capitalist video program? I know. Does that actually even work, the Squatty Potty? Yeah, it's like, it helps like straighten out your colon, I guess is how it's supposed to work. Because most of the time, you think about how humans evolved to go to the restroom. We evolved to go to the restroom squatting down on the ground. You know, we didn't evolve to sit in like these 90-degree whatever. And especially if you have a really tall toilet. If you have a short toilet, then it's a little bit easier. But if you have a really tall toilet, you know, and I do have a tall toilet. I'm not the tallest person. I'm like 5.5-ish feet tall. I don't know. Yeah, Squatty Potty changed my life. I used to turn and put my feet on the side of the tub. You know, whatever you gotta do to make it work. Whatever you gotta do. You know, I ate Whataburger for the first time yesterday, and I think that it may have gurgled my guts a little bit. I never had Whataburger before. I just use a footstool, yeah. I know, I'm so woke with my human needs. It's pride. You can't have human needs. You have to be superhuman. You have to be the gay... What is it? The gay... There's some movie trope. I can't remember what it's called. When the gay person is, like, magic or prophetic or whatever. What is that called? What's a Whataburger? It's... I don't know if I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but I prefer to say Whataburger. It's spelled... Yeah, you can see Kitty Tick just said it in the chat. Whataburger. I just like saying Whataburger. But yeah, it's just a fast food chain that's based out of Texas. I want to say it's based out of Texas. Whataburger only good at 3 a.m. when wasted. It's a fast food burger. Oh, of course Culver's is better. Oh, listen. Culver's is the best fast food burger you can get. Okay? And they're not paying me to say that, but they should. Culver's, you want to pay me some money for some promotion? My streams get 50 viewers. Don't have them in Virginia. Yeah, I think they're just now spreading to other places in the Midwest, you know. I spent like a day out in Kansas City. And, you know, there's just like some new options. Whataburger is almost as overrated as In-N-Out. I've heard a lot of people say they either love Whataburger and hate In-N-Out, or the other way around. They love In-N-Out and hate Whataburger. But now in Kansas City, we've got so many options. We've got Whataburger, we've got Jack in the Box, we've got... I think there are In-N-Outs now in Kansas City. No, it's definitely not anything special. Whataburger is not special. It was just a serviceable... Now, I will say, here's one thing I will say. Hit the like button if you agree. That Whataburger has taken the advice of the internet where instead of making their burgers taller, they've made them wider. Like, the burger was, like, that big. And that was just their #1 combo. Like, it was a big burger, and it was, like, flatter. I will say, though, if you want to get Whataburger, you should get the double. Because if you just get the single patty, then there's way more bread in proportion to the meat. So it does kind of need to be a double patty burger. Y'all got Zaxby's. I feel like I've driven by a Zaxby's before, and then I drove back through there later, and it wasn't there anymore. Arby's. I just like Arby's for their roast beef. I've never had a burger at Arby's. Just fans more profusely. We're trying to get to 100 likes and $100 in donations if you feel like it. This is my job. This is how I make my money, through gift donations, and through Patreon and all that shit. But like, yeah, I am gonna start a GoFundMe. I've decided, because I was looking through the costs of what all it's gonna take to move, and I'm definitely gonna have to do a GoFundMe. It's crazy. Do you have Crystal or White Castle? We have White Castles and we have Hardee's. Having had Whataburger before, I am reminded of the Billy Goat Tavern in Chicago. They do really flat patties. Yeah, very flat. You gotta get the double if you're gonna go to Whataburger. I like that their burgers come with mustard, though. It's pretty delicious. Okay. Happy Pride! It's time for a bad story. It's time for a bad time. We're ready to have a bad time? So we've been talking about all kinds of anti-trans stuff on this channel. It's what I do, unfortunately. And one of the things that we've been talking about consistently is the whole bathroom situation, right? I live in Kansas. I can no longer safely use public restrooms without the risk of being arrested, not to mention the usual risk of potentially being accosted or assaulted. And there's all kinds of opinions. So many opinions that people have about this. They're like, why? Why can't you just use the bathroom of what you were assigned at birth? You know? Because people are imagining, you know, mannish looking trans women in the women's bathroom, or they're imagining that some cis man is going to say he's a woman and just go into the bathroom to like be creepy and hurt people, like go into the women's bathroom. And of course, this is leaving off the fact that they don't seem to realize that what they're doing is creating a situation where transgender men who look entirely like men, but who probably still have the genitals they were born with, they're making it so that those men need to use the female restrooms legally. In the state of Kansas, if you're a trans man, it doesn't matter how big your beard is, you have to go use the female restroom, legally speaking, you know? And what's going to stop a cis man from just saying he's a trans man and going in there, whatever. And then there's some people who are like, oh, why don't you just, you know, have a separate bathroom? And I'm like, oh, so you think trans people are like equal, but that they should be separate? Interesting. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about an issue with a trans bathroom situation where this trans teenager was actually using the bathroom that people keep saying she should use, and then she got assaulted. So let's look at one of these. I have multiple articles open, so let's just pick one and go. This one's from the Star Tribune. Activists rally on behalf of trans Hopkins student after alleged attack. Let's look at Pink News. Yeah, let's start here. Trans teen girl left with broken jaw after attack at high school. So this is a high school in, I believe, Minnesota, which Minnesota has like sanctuary state laws. They recently just removed the trans panic defense from the ability to use that as a defense in court. And so we think of Minnesota as like, wow, it's this really progressive place in the middle of an otherwise kind of not progressive area, like the Midwest in general. I would not say Iowa or Kansas or Missouri are very progressive, but Minnesota is, or it's supposed to be. But that does not necessarily stop interpersonal violence. In fact, in some ways, I suspect it can enhance interpersonal violence. You know, like the trans panic defense wasn't revoked until after a trans woman was murdered. And we just talked about that not very long ago on the channel if you want to check that out. So yeah, let's get into this story here. Police are investigating after a trans teenager was left with a broken jaw after she was attacked at school. Keeping in mind that we already covered an instance where a trans teenager was assaulted in a bathroom and died from it this year. You know, that was this year. Jeez. The incident took place at Hopkins High School in Minnetonka, which is 10 miles west of Minneapolis. And Minneapolis is supposed to be, it's the big progressive city in Minnesota. So Cobalt Sovereign, 17-year-old Cobalt Sovereign, went to use the toilet after the school day had ended. She came out as trans in 2021. And in this instance, she said a male student leaned over the stall she was using, repeatedly called her a homophobic slur, and then when she was trying to leave the bathroom, he punched her in the jaw. In an interview, she said, "One of my teeth exploded. There were pieces in my mouth, and my jaw was broken in 2 places. One of my molars in the top shattered." The trans teen went on to say the assault has left her with nightmares. So the school apparently does have gender-inclusive toilets, which means like a gender-neutral toilet. Yeah. So that's another thing where people are like, why can't you just use a gender-neutral toilet? Well, a lot of the time, and in this instance, those toilets are often either being used or they're way out of the way. I would guess that in this instance, typically like the male and female restroom have multiple stalls and multiple urinals and everything. And then the gender-inclusive toilets, it's kind of like how you have disabled toilets, where it's like, it's one kind of big room and a door that locks and it has its own sink in there with the toilet, but there's only occupancy for one. So, okay, let's say you want to use the gender-inclusive toilets. Let's say you're using your 4-minute passing period and you go out of your way, away from your class. You know, you're trying to get from this class to this class and you have to go over here. This class to this class, but you have to go way over here to go to the gender-inclusive bathroom. Okay, well, if there's somebody in there, you can't go to that bathroom. And that's one of the things that's very annoying about the, gender-neutral options is that there often is only one available. She also said that she is quite uncomfortable using the men's toilets, but she does choose to do so because she would rather, quote, be uncomfortable than make other people uncomfortable by using the women's. This girl is scared of being assaulted in a female restroom or of like having punitive action taken against her. She doesn't want to deal with cis girls' discomfort. She would rather herself be uncomfortable. So she's using the male restroom, which again, that is the restroom that people keep telling us trans women should use. They're like, trans women need to stop using women's spaces. They need to go use the men's room. Well, here's what happens. Her brother says she was punched in the jaw and sucker punched so badly that she had to go to the hospital and receive jaw surgery to treat the damage. She has experienced glimmers of transphobia before, as many, if not all, trans people do, but it's never been this bad. It's never gone to the point of full-on assault. Now, I will say, one of the positive pieces of this news is that the community has rallied around her. There was a big basically a protest. Members of the LGBTQ plus community and allies rallied outside the school on Wednesday, June 5th, gathering with pride flags and messages of love. Speaking directly to trans youngsters, Hannah Edwards, who is the director of Transforming Families Minnesota, said, "You are worthy of safety, you are worthy of dignity and a life full of opportunities." You know, positive messages. Minnetonka police are investigating the incident as a possible hate crime because it was an act of violence that involved a student who identifies as part of the LGBTQ plus community. And if homophobic slurs were being issued, then yeah, for sure, it is a hate crime. You know, I don't think that there's really any question about that. The district officials declined to comment until the investigation is completed, but they did describe the school as an inclusive community that values diversity and inclusion, adding, "We will address any issues that compromise the safety and inclusivity of our school environment. We support and stand by any group that is marginalized, including our LGBTQ plus scholars and staff." Principal Crystal Bullard has stated that while the assault has not yet been officially deemed a hate crime, even the thought of an attack of this nature can be traumatizing. So they're not going to comment. They're not going to say, "Oh yeah, we are expelling the student who did this," or anything. If you punched someone so hard that you broke their jaw, I would be very surprised if that kid's hand is not also damaged. So it would be like, it's going to be hard to miss which student it is, you know? So that's the first article about it. This article from the Star Tribune goes up, talks about the rally, seeking justice and accountability in the alleged assault. Minnetonka police investigating this as a hate crime. Let's see. The city's statement said it received a 911 call about the incident on the day of the alleged assault. An accompanying transcript revealed the call came from a family member. Police have no record of the school district filing a report. Cool. It was after the school day ended, so maybe there were fewer faculty on premises. I'm not sure. The city says details remain limited as the case was reported to police after school had ended for the day. This case remains active and further information is not currently available. Representative Lee Finca, who is the first openly transgender member of the legislature in St. Paul, says she often gets calls about trans students who are beaten up. In this case, the victim's family wanted to go public to encourage action and accountability. She says this is a family that wants to use the trauma for some good. So, of course, you know, I would say it's nice that an actual legislator is getting involved. But of course, she's trans, you know, she's gonna get involved in the situation. And then let's look at what Ari says on Twitter. Cobalt Sovereign, 17-year-old trans girl was brutally assaulted by a boy who hurled slurs at her in the bathroom of her high school. He broke her jaw, teeth, and left her with a concussion. She did spend 2 days in the hospital. This is the kind of thing that anti-trans obsessive know will happen if trans women are forced into men's restrooms. The statistics bear it out, truly. Yeah, there's all this fear-mongering. Yes, it would be great to see some cis legislators care enough to show up. But, yeah, the statistics show that if you put trans people in the space where they don't belong, in the sense that, like, yeah, you force a trans girl to use the men's restroom, or even in restrooms that are women's restrooms, like, trans people get assaulted and harassed way more than cis people do at the hands of trans people in particular. Like, if you want to look at trans on cis crime versus cis on trans crime, there's just no comparison. It's so obvious that trans people are the ones who are vulnerable here. Yeah, Cobalt Sovereign does go hard as a name. Sci-fi hero name. She really went. Cobalt, even just without her last name, Cobalt is a just baller name. Amazing. So yeah. That, like, we know that if you send trans girls into the men's restroom, this is what's going to happen. And I think that's reasonably, it's probably one of the unspoken but intended side effects of this. Ari points out that trans students are facing a crisis of violence cheered on by hateful adults. Earlier this year, Nex Benedict, trans-masculine teenager, died the day after a violent altercation in the girls' bathroom of his school. So this was a similar situation. Nex was in the bathroom. That I don't actually know if Oklahoma has passed a law about this. I can't remember. But Nex was in the bathroom that he was allegedly supposed to be in, quote unquote, according to the transphobic rhetoric, was in the girls' restroom and got into a fight and got beat up and ended up dying from their injuries. So, I will say the last thing here, I suppose, because it's like, what do you say about it? Like, what else do you say about it? Like, this is horrible that trans kids, these are kids at school. And it's not just, oh, these two kids got into a fight and it was like an equal playing field or something like that. You know, kids get into fights all the time. It happened when I was in school. I went to school in an area where, like, yeah, girls would grab each other's hair and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But this is like, yeah, being a minority who someone is preying on you in the bathroom and then they assault you and you have to go to the hospital and get surgery. Byron says, if the mere speculation of a crime that could happen is enough to drive legislation barring trans people from bathrooms, surely the actual statistics are enough to accuse people wanting bathroom laws of supporting hate crimes, right? You would think. So it's possible that it is kind of like beating a dead horse at this point, looking at this, but there is a GoFundMe, which at this point I will just say, like, this is part of our coverage because it's already reached its goal. She is fundraising, or the family is fundraising $50,000. They've reached $50,018 because this is like healthcare. Yeah. Cobalt was transported by ambulance. Sorry, this is probably too small for you to read it. She was transported by ambulance to a level 1 trauma center where she underwent a multi-hour surgery to repair her jaw with 3 titanium plates. In a few months, once her jaw has fully healed, she will need additional reconstructive dental work. In the meantime, she has a traumatic brain injury, which will prevent her from returning to school at this time. So given that she has a long and expensive medical road ahead, recovering physically and mentally, her parents are also accruing non-medical expenses in order to care for her, including lost wages. They do intend to fight for justice and may be in need of legal funds. The total financial burden is unknown, and we will revise the target if significant additional expenses emerge. So they're basically, you know, they raised the fundraising goal to $50,000 because they're planning on not only covering all of the medical expenses, but they are also, you know, potentially going to pursue legal action against this kid or maybe even against the school. Because, there's also a question, as there was with Nex Benedict in Oklahoma, of has there been ongoing bullying that the school has not addressed? The school does have a responsibility to prevent, like, assaults from happening, to stop bullying, especially if it's on the basis of a protected characteristic like gender. They are actually required, like, because you have Title VII rights. Is it Title VII? You have rights. Or is it Title IX? I can never remember. One of them is in education. But you have rights to be able to go to school and be safe and protected there. And so if your ability to be safe and protected at school is being compromised, especially on the basis of one of those protected characteristics, then your rights have been violated by the school district and the superintendent potentially and the principal and whatever, if you have not had adequate addressing of those issues ongoing. So yeah, was this a one-off event? Had they had any conversations previously? The person who assaulted Cobalt versus like what's the situation? Why did this kid follow her into a bathroom to throw homophobic slurs and stuff at her? Like, it's wild. And in Minnesota, again, it's like, what, it's like, okay, it's Oklahoma. We understand that it's pretty backwards there, But when it comes to Minnesota, we're all hoping that these places are safe, and then they're not, and it's not a good time. But this girl lived. She's receiving her medical care. Her parents are able to, you know, take the time off work and stuff, and they've raised more than enough money on their GoFundMe to take care of all these things. So I'm looking forward to seeing any updates if they do end up pursuing. I mean, of course, there's going to be like criminal charges, I would assume. The assault, the hate crime, for sure. I cannot see a situation where the kid who punched her does not get charged, potentially even as an adult, because if she's 17, there's a decent chance that the other kid is also 17. I don't know, what's the youngest age that someone gets tried as an adult? You know, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this. I feel like there's no way in Minnesota that this kid is gonna get off easy. But hopefully. Like, hopefully we get some real justice here. Right, yeah, of course. At the very minimum, even if there's not a criminal thing, there should at least, yeah, there should be like a civil lawsuit where Cobalt and her parents sue this kid for damages, for medical bills and pain and suffering, and like, because there are material, actual damages. It's not like, oh, someone called you a name, and so it's hard to prove damages. But in this instance, it's like, yeah, we have a medical bill. We can show it to you, right? And of course, because the other person in the situation is a minor, details about that person are not going to be released until the end of the trial, basically, until after the sentencing, perhaps. Because we, of course, there are rules in place to protect minors from having their information released publicly when they're going through something in the court system, typically. So unless he or his family make the first move, talk to the media or whatever, there's probably not going to be much that we're going to hear about him until the end of the trial. But yes, we can be grateful that this girl is safe, that she has supportive parents, that they have raised all this money, that they can get her all the medical care that she needs. It's the end of the school year anyway, so she can recover over the summer and hopefully be able to come back, or, you know, whatever, do whatever she needs to do to finish school. I don't know if she's a senior. I am getting the impression that she's probably a junior and not a senior, but because they didn't say, oh, she had to miss graduation. I think that would have been part of it. So let's say she's a junior. She'll be able to finish her senior year. The community is rallying around her, and hopefully that community support will also lead to demands that the school handle this issue and that we have greater protections and we need justice. Like, this kid who hit her needs to, I think, go to corrections in some form or fashion. Like, why did you think that this was a good idea? Who taught you that this was going to go well for you? Did you think that it was going to go well for you? At the very minimum, in Minnesota, the law is reactive in a way that's like, yeah, no, that was, sorry, Hunty, that was a hate crime. So we can be grateful that the situation turned out as well as it did, all things considered, because we have seen recent evidence, recent situations where the person doesn't even always make it out alive. So, you know, we can count our blessings in that regard. Shout out to Cobalt for being a badass motherfucker and taking it like a champ, getting through this, you know. Children should not need to be dealing with this. Children should not have to go through this. Children should not be worried about breaking their bones, having a traumatic brain injury, because they are going to school. And they're going to the bathroom that every transphobe says that they need to be going to. So, yay! Happy Pride, everybody. All right. I don't think I have anything else to add to that one, so I'll put it in my notes. Going straight in the notes. Oh my god, my coffee is very much in my way right now. What even is today? 6/16. Yep, it's been 11 days since the last time I streamed. Okay. Trans girl, jaw broken, bathroom. No! Ah! There we go. I did it. Now it's in my notes. Alright, there's chat. You're welcome. You're welcome back. In some states, you can be charged as an adult as young as 10, but most are 13 as the youngest. Sure, that makes sense. Like, yeah, even if the kid doesn't get charged as an adult with the criminal charges, they still have a very strong civil case for damages. Yeah. Ugh. Cool. Alright, let me get rid of some of these tabs. I do not need them open anymore. We did it. We successfully did a news. And we also got to 102 likes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Not the most fun story in the world, but... listen. News coverage. Not always pleasant. I'm gonna sip the coffee. Coffee's almost done. My gnome cup. I still need to buy myself one of my own merch cups. So that I can take a sip and be like, look at how much merch I have. Look at it. Ugh. Let me double check over here on Twitter. Let me see what links I have for the next story. Listen, I'm just gonna complain for a minute. If this person were charged as an adult, it would be part of their permanent record, but as a juvenile, it could get expunged. Yeah, I hope it doesn't get expunged. I'm just gonna complain for a second here. So I saw earlier that Dave Grohl was trending on Twitter, and I'm really annoyed because I know things. I'm really annoyed that Dave Grohl is being treated like the internet's fun uncle because his band was actively engaged in AIDS denialism for a number of years. And so I tweeted, interestingly, I see Dave Grohl trending, which makes now a great time to mention that his band was actively engaged in AIDS denialism for a number of years. And then people are like, wait, what? Please explain. You can't drop a bomb like this and not elaborate. And I'm like, okay, why don't I go over here to Google and type in Foo Fighters AIDS denial. And then, oh, wow, look at that. Like, oh, wow, there's an immediate, like, there's a fucking Wikipedia result right there. Google it. Google it. Just Google it. Dave Grohl is the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, and he used to be the drummer of Nirvana. Yeah, main singer and guitarist. Yeah, for people to be like, what? Please elaborate. Like, Google it. I'm gonna Google it and then give you a link. No, you Google it. Jesus. Take some initiative, y'all. We did cover it on the channel, though, at one point. So if you want to see my video covering it, it's on the channel. Okay, yeah, I was gonna check and see what all I had retweeted. Because I did retweet stuff that I wanted to cover. Okay, I think, is this basically the same tweet? No, why? Oh, yeah, different blue sky. Okay, this is the blue sky. Let me double check and see if Aaron has anything on this. Just so we make sure we have all of our bases covered when we start talking about this next thing. No, I don't think Aaron has covered this yet. It's weird, too, because it's not like it comes from an explicitly anti-gay perspective from them. It's a science-ignorant dude or dudes who watched or read the wrong thing once and started believing it. Yeah, it was their bassist. So the bassist of Foo Fighter read a book by a woman with HIV about how AIDS is something totally unrelated and it's not caused by HIV, effectively. And that woman, who was HIV positive, got pregnant and had a baby. And then her baby died when it was like 3 years old because it also had HIV and AIDS. So, yeah, it's not an explicitly homophobic position, but it's like anti-scientific position where they're going, oh, well, you know, whatever. It's not even like, oh, whatever, HIV isn't even related to AIDS. You can get AIDS from something else, I guess. Like, something totally unrelated. And then they just ran with it. And it was like more than 10 years of their career as a band. They would plug this book and like do events and stuff. Later, Atreyu. Yes, Atreyu is leaving and reminds you to go subscribe to the channel at One Oasis Left, because that is my second channel where I'm going to be posting more often. So far, there's like clip content from the channel on there, and then I posted a vlog a couple days ago talking about my hunting and fishing license and kind of just what the channel is going to be about. And more, I'm posting pictures from when I go fishing, and I'll be recording content about it. It's just going to be like, hey, I'm trans and this is what I'm doing. You know, it's not really intended to be educational. Maybe you'll learn something, but yep. It's gonna be May. No, it's gonna be good. May is already gone. It can't gonna be May because it already May. 69 viewers, 105 likes. If we get to $100 in donation, I will flex. I mean, I'm already flexing, but I'll let you see it. Honestly, I've thought about like how much of a banger my James Somerton video was last month. And it's like, I don't really want to become a drama channel, but it would probably be less psychic damage than talking about trans news all the time. And that video did so well. Like, that video did so well. It's crazy. Compared to all my other content, I was surprised. But, like, you know, fair enough. James Somerton fakes his own death. That's a title you're gonna click on. So, yeah. But, like, getting locked into the trans content has been such a nightmare. Like my giant 64-ounce water bottle. It's so good. June feels like a Dune. Oh, God, yeah. Well, it's been raining a lot in Kansas, actually. Like, full-on thunderstorms and all this. So, we need it, because otherwise it would be so dry. So it's like, yeah, it is hot and it's muggy, which is not the best combo, especially because of the whole wet bulb temperature thing. Like, if it's over a certain humidity level and hot at the same time, your sweat will no longer cool you down, which is why fans are so great. They help a little bit. But, yeah, so it's been... People love drama. It definitely makes money. It takes a toll on your mental health, though. See, I think it would be less... I'm just gesticulating. Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I think it would be less of a toll on my mental health to talk about dumbass drama like James Somerton, as opposed to actual heavy-hitting anti-trans news. Like, you know, if I cover stupid drama, I never have to talk about trans teenagers getting beat up in the bathroom. It already done made. That's true, Gwen. You got it. Popular publications and tabloids like the National Enquirer, Star Magazine, etc. used to have stories every week during the 80s and 90s where celebrities made homophobic remarks and other non-helpful comments during the AIDS epidemic. Never liked Guns N' Roses after finding out how Axl Rose hated LGBTQIA+ people and especially gay fans. Oh man, rude. I was gonna make a joke about the allure of drama, but all I'm coming up with is you becoming Keffals. See, the difference... It's One Oasis Left on YouTube. I can't find it under that name. Yeah, that is the name, but it is a really tiny channel, so it might not show up in search. So go to your URL, type in www.youtube.com/@OneOasisLeft, all one word. That should take you directly there. I'll probably put a link in the description at some point. I just am forgetful and I haven't done it yet. But the difference between me and Keffals is that Keffals generates her own drama. She gets in shit fights with people and then makes content about it. I just want to talk about other people's drama. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be great? Here in Florida, it's hell on earth. Oh, I bet it's so hot and muggy down there. But it's crazy. But yeah, you're not the only person who's told me that doing a search for... Let me just do it really quick. I don't know if it'll be different because I am already subscribed to the channel. But if I just type in... One Oasis Left. Yeah, it does not show up in the immediate search for me. Either. So yeah, you go to youtube.com/@OneOasisLeft. Let's do that. youtube.com/@OneOasisLeft. Yes, that takes you straight there. That's this. It's this channel. Hello. I need to commission some art for it so that it doesn't just have, like, placeholder stuff. Having wrong takes pulls you into new drama, like a Dramageddon. That's true. Keffals could have saved herself a ton of grief if she'd learned what it meant to healthily disengage. I know we haven't really talked about it on this channel, but I watched Demon Mama's video, and, like, Keffals, like... doxes people for fun. She doesn't publicize it usually, but she doxes people for fun. She has spent all the money from her... She had a GoFundMe, basically. Yeah, a GoFundMe. And she spent all the money from it. She kept claiming she was going to do this legal case and sue the police department and file an official complaint with the Human Rights Commission. She never did any of that. She lied. And she spent all the money on, like, trips and new clothes and her friends and stuff. And now she's, like, moved to Ireland where the rent is a lot cheaper, and she's talking about how she's gonna have enough money to save up for a house, and it's, like, really fucked up, actually. And then on top of that, all of the drama behavior and all of the, like, you know, I don't want to criticize her for being an addict, but it's like, you know that she was spending some of that money on drugs. If she was on, like, all these crazy drugs and, like, doing cocaine and stuff, you know that some of that GoFundMe money went to that. And I'm not criticizing her for being an addict. I'm criticizing her for being irresponsible with her money. And, like, engaging in reckless behavior. Yeah, it's not required for them to spend the money on what they said they were going to in GoFundMe's fine print, but it is a bad look. Yeah. And, like, people can file a complaint through GoFundMe if they donated money to her. Yeah, it was awful. So, yeah. Maybe I'm gonna have to start paying attention to other YouTubers so that I can cover their drama when they get into shit. And then I can do my thing where I have really insightful and concise commentary about mental health and, like, responsible behavior. 100,000 Canadian dollars, but yes, still awful. Yeah, in USD, it was like, what, 70K? Something along those lines? 70,000? Because US dollars, less of it equals more of it in Canadian money, I think, typically. But yeah, that was awful. And Demon Mama was able to corroborate the screenshots and stuff in a way that I wouldn't be able to. Still more than double my income as a grad student. Yeah, more than a lot of people's annual income. $70,000 is like easily 3 times my personal annual income, not counting like my partner. But yeah, like, wow. I'm like sitting here hoping I can scrounge like a couple $1,000s from a GoFundMe campaign this year so that I can move across the country. Like, to be fair, my story isn't as compelling as hers. I wasn't swatted. I wasn't doxxed by Kiwi Farms. I wasn't being stalked by Kiwi Farms and needed to do all this crazy shit. You're like, yeah, okay. But still, man. Yeah, $72,000. Something along those lines. So, yeah. Who are some YouTubers I should start paying attention to see if they do some silly stuff? A home down payment would be more responsible than rent. Well, yeah, but it's hard to get a down payment for a, like it's hard to get a down payment for a house if you're already in the renting situation. Yeah. You have to be making way more than what you're paying in rent. And now she's over in Ireland and she's like, oh, my rent is only like $700 a month. Isn't this great? Wow, I'm going to be able to buy a house. Like, oh, okay, after you screwed over. Like, there were vulnerable trans people who don't have the money to do it, who sent her money thinking that she needed it more than they did. Or thinking that she was going to do this legal case that was going to have rippling impacts and protect trans people more broadly in Ontario. And like, yeah, 3 times what I make in here. Yeah. I can't remember exactly how much money I made last year because I combined my income with my husband's when I do the taxes, but yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if people who are actually deserving, and I'm not saying I'm actually deserving compared to Keffels or anything, but like Keffels was not deserving of that money, but imagine if all the people who donated to her who kind of couldn't afford to send her that $5, but they did anyway. Like, what if those people had gotten a little piece of what Keffels was given? It bugs me that until Demon Mama's video, every other video was literally just unevidenced speculation. Yeah, I didn't really see any other content about it, because like, typically I avoid drama stuff unless it's an H-Bomber Guy video, in which case I usually don't even know that it's a drama video until I get 2 hours into it, and then suddenly, oh, it's about James Somerton, you know? So I haven't seen any other content about it, but I don't think that it's unfair for people to have been speculating about what was going on with Keffels, because, you know, it's like, oh, all this time has passed, and she's talking about being in a different country now and all this. Like, she should have been updating the whole time about what she did with the money. It would have been responsible for her to give updates and say, you know, I've spent such and such on such and such, and the trial is going to be happening at this point, or like, I've just filed the complaint with the Human Rights Commission. But she just wasn't doing any of that. And I don't even know if she intended to in the first place. The GoFundMe started as an emergency I need to move fund, right? Or actually, I think she might have established the GoFundMe after they had already restored all of her equipment to her. So it's hard to say. I would need to go back and check that. Because one of the things, was that, oh, they've confiscated my equipment and I can't work, so I need to replace my equipment. but I think that it's possible that maybe the GoFundMe went public after they had already returned her stuff to her, in which case it was always intended to be kind of a, I don't know, grift is not the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, if it is the case that she published her GoFundMe saying, oh, I need to replace my computer equipment after her computer equipment had already been returned to her, then it was always a scam. Scam is the word I was looking for. Yeah. But it makes sense, right? It's not great that people are speculating necessarily, but I totally understand. Guacamole in the YouTube chat says, yes, it was after she got her stuff back that she posted the GoFundMe. Fraudulent, also a good word for it. But yeah, I completely get it for people to be like, okay, so we all donated $700 or $70,000 to her altogether. What is she doing with that? I think if she had just, Demon Mama said this too, if she had just left it as an emergency fund, if she had closed it after she reached the amount, like she originally was going for like 20,000 Canadian, just to move, just to get somewhere safe, whatever. People would have probably been like, okay, yeah, you spent it. It was for you to spend. It was meant for you to spend. But with her changing it midway through and going, okay, well, now I'm going to sue the London Police Department. Well, that's definitely going to have the effect of incentivizing more donations. But did she need to do that? No. Because now a bunch of people are going to be annoyed and disappointed and angry that she stole money from them because she lied about what she was going to do with the money. But if she had just said, yeah, I reached my $20,000 goal, that's more than enough money for me to become safe. I can, replace any equipment that I need to replace. I can get settled in a new location. I can pay for the plane tickets and moving my stuff over, or maybe even replacing all of her stuff, because I don't know how you go about moving your furniture across the ocean. You probably don't. Like, yeah, there wouldn't be a scandal if she had just gone, okay, I need $20,000 to move and replace all my furniture. And then if you had gotten to that amount and then shut down the GoFundMe, there would be no story about that. Yeah, so a couple people in chat have said it has now been confirmed. Part of the listed point in the original GoFundMe was replacing her streaming equipment, but it's now been confirmed that she had gotten her stuff back within like 3 days of it being possessed by the police. So, yeah. Like, even if we just ignore that, if we just ignore that she was asking for enough money to replace her computer equipment when she already had it back, let's just pretend that part didn't happen. Okay, you need $20,000? Cool. People are willing to donate that amount of money to a woman who has been doxxed and swatted. And it wouldn't be a story now. But she's basically lost credibility. And I don't know how she's going to come back. I don't know if she's even posting. The last thing I heard about her was that she was stirring up shit with Xander Hall. And listen, I don't really care about either of them. I used to be fairly fond of Xander Hall, but he's kind of adrift on his own little island at this point. He doesn't really seem interested in having any relationships with other streamers, and he's doing well on his own, so whatever. And I know a lot of people have issues with his takes on stuff. Like, I just am not involved. I just don't care. But yeah, this whole thing with Keffels, like, she should have just stuck to being a shit poster. Maybe that would have helped a lot. Just not getting involved in all this, going after Kiwi Farms obviously is going to incentivize them to come after her. They talk about me sometimes on Kiwi Farms, or at least they used to, like 8 years ago. I don't really know that they do anymore, but I also don't go poke the bear. Yeah, I don't want to get into a whole Xander Hall topic right now, but yeah, just, it's really unfortunate that some of the biggest trans voices are some of the most problematic, right? Like, Caitlyn Jenner is one of the most known trans names in the country, And she's deeply problematic. And then, of course, this online space, Keffels manages to be this, huge voice, very large streams, tons of donations. And she literally scammed her audience of people who are empathetic and caring and wanted to make sure that she was safe and okay. Yeah, and like Blair White. Yeah, Blair White. Yeah. With someone like Keffels, she seems progressive. We want her to do well. We want to see trans women succeeding. We want to see trans people in general succeeding. It was very funny for her to be doing this whole LOL ratio thing on Twitter for a while. It made it feel like trans rights were gaining popularity. It's like, I get it. And then, yeah, it's unfortunate that the trust that people placed in her was just misplaced. It was just in the wrong spot. And now I don't know what she's going to do. She's disabled, and that's why she was a streamer in the first place. So it's like, is she just going to start a new account, or is she going to resume doing sex work? Because I know that she had been doing sex work prior to that. Like, your name has a lot of baggage attached to it now, so I'm not sure what she's going to do. Yeah, of course. And I think that, Guacamole in the chat points out, it bothers me thinking about how much she got with her GoFundMe when we always are seeing trans people begging for help to even eat. We're all passing around the same $5 and she manages to scam $70,000. I think that's part of what makes it so egregious that we, trans people in general are struggling so much. And then this, very privileged, comparatively white trans woman. She is disabled, but like, she was able to transition young. She has the support of her family. She lived in a progressive country, and now she lives in a different progressive country. For her to have scammed, and I'm sure some of the people that she got money from were some of those trans people who are, some months they're begging for food. And it's like, yeah, it's a bunch of people who recognize desperation, who want to help. We recognize desperation. We recognize danger, and we want to help. And it just didn't work out the way that people would have wanted it to this time. She's going to do non-political streams. Good for her. Politics seemed to be really bad for her. I don't know how she's going to manage to have a career now that people know that she scammed $70,000 and it's all gone now. And now that it's all gone and she's making money off of her stream and she's paying very little in rent comparatively, and she's going to save up for a house now. Whatever, I guess I hope she builds a completely different audience of people who she didn't scam and she's not going to scam. Who knows? Anyway, I think there was enough conversation there to do I'll do a little clip, a little Keffels clip in my notes. While we're trying to change the direction of my channel to talking about things that are more lucrative and less psychic damage. Adding Blair White to my list alongside Litch McConnell. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there was enough there that we can post a little Keffels video. Just some commentary. Just a little bit of commentary. Ooh, oh, that's spicy. Eric in the YouTube chat says, not gonna lie, I personally know another former influencer who did a GoFundMe scam saying it was for bottom surgery. She spent the $50,000 on drugs / designer furniture / a trip to Israel. Ugh. Like, it's like, okay, whatever. Obviously not good to rip people off and spend the money on drugs. Also not good to spend it on expensive furniture that you didn't need. But a trip to Israel, on top of everything else, just adding insult to injury, just spitting right in that wound. God. We are no longer friends, and for legal reasons, I'm not saying who it is, especially as they are not online in that space anymore, let alone famous still. Listen, guys, if I ever do a GoFundMe for $50,000 saying that it's for bottom surgery, I mean, one thing I think is a little bit of an issue with GoFundMe is that the money comes in as it gets donated. So if you set the GoFundMe for like $50,000, because that's what you need in order to get surgery, if you only get like $10,000, well, I still don't have enough money for surgery, but I also kind of can't refund it. Whereas there's other websites, other crowdfunding websites where they hold on to the money until you reach the goal. I wonder if maybe GoFundMe has a setting like that. I'm not sure. But I would be afraid if I did a $50,000 GoFundMe to get a dick installed, which, like, I don't actually know how much it would cost. That's the number that I always ballpark. I always just say $50,000. But, like, I don't know, maybe I'll have insurance by then. I don't know. But, like, I would be afraid that I would get $10,000 and then I would have some kind of other emergency that I needed that money for or something. This person was also pro-Palestine. She wasn't going to visit family. She was simply going to a resort in occupied land. Cute. It's common decency to show some kind of receipts for a GoFundMe. I agree. Oh, this person raised $50,000, but actually she had the surgery under the public healthcare system in Canada. Yeah, if you are a Canadian citizen, they give you the surgery for free or for a very low cost. But if you are if you're an American going to Canada for it, you do have to pay the full cost. And just being a resident in Canada, I don't think is enough. You might pay a reduced cost for some services if you are a permanent resident. But I think you might have to actually get your citizenship in order to be, like, fully covered. I don't know. I stopped researching Canada a while ago. I was thinking about moving there, and then I decided, like, I would rather live in a state in the United States that's relatively protected. Like, if I live in Oregon and the surgeon that I want to go to is in California, then cool. Like, I live in a progressive state and I don't have to go even through a dangerous place to go get the surgery that I want. And California is also very, trans protective and progressive and all this, so. Goodness. It has now changed, but at that time, even the aftercare and stuff was fully covered. Are you saying she didn't even need gas money for travel? Like, she literally didn't need to fundraise at all for her bottom surgery and just did it anyway so that she could scam people? Wow. We're not talking about Keffels right now. We're talking about Eric's former friend in the YouTube chat. That's crazy. People be crazy. I guess I'm just, like, hoping if I ever get bottom surgery that I just get it under insurance so that I don't have to do any insane GoFundMe bullshit. Because I feel like it's a huge responsibility. I feel like it is a ginormous responsibility if people are giving you tens of thousands of dollars, you know? Eric says, if you have permanent residency, which does take 3 years, by the way, and then you have a provincial Medicare card, you likely will have most of the surgery covered, or you might be paid back, like reimbursed for it, although the wait is longer. Interesting. They make permanent residents wait longer. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. I do kind of wish that it was more of a first come, first serve thing, I guess, but whatever. Like, do you pay different taxes as a citizen versus a permanent resident? These people are scamming people for tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm sitting here like, can we please give me $100? Just so that I can, I just had to pay several $100 to replace parts of my computer so that I could work. God. Yeah, she didn't need to fundraise at all. Her mom drove her, and then the flight home was covered as medical transportation. It's not covered that well anymore, says Eric, but at the time, yeah, wow, wild. Okay, we're getting ready to shift gears into the next topic. I'm drinking more water, even though I already need to pee again. If you haven't hit the like button already, please hit the like button. We're about to segue into our next actual topic. We've already covered the one in the title of this show. Yeah, even accessing care in different provinces is a hassle as your Medicare is provincial. I have a friend who's on ODSP, and it's so difficult for her because she lives in one province and she goes to school in a different province. So getting her healthcare covered is just a fucking nightmare. But, you know, it's the same way in the United States. If you have insurance in one state, it's not necessarily going to cover anything from out of state. Okay. We have 2 more little segments we're going to do. Ooh, 11D1 likes. We love to see it. We're going to cover a win in Florida. Ooh, another one for the Florida Fascism Nexus playlist. Oh, I need someone to help me organize my channel and like make playlists that make sense. I know that not very many people consume content on YouTube in the form of playlists, but it's probably good to have it organized to some extent anyway. Ugh, yawn. Goodness. I work in Quebec but have ODSP. Yeah. It's a bit of a bummer. That's how I stopped physical therapy for my elbow after my bike accident. I went home for the holidays and had to stop because a Zoom call counted as out-of-state care. You know that you can lie, right? I'm not saying you should, but like, you can just like, why do they need to know that you're in a different state? I'm looking forward to eating chicken tonight. I feel like, do you realize yawns are contagious? Too bad. What should I do? How should I prevent the yawns from being contagious? It was in person prior to that, and I was at the end of eating it anyway. And I'm too honest. Yeah, you are too honest. Like, oh, I'm in another state. Like, yeah, they're only licensed to practice in their one state. Unless maybe if your doctor operates in Kansas City, they might be licensed in both Kansas and Missouri, but that doesn't happen super often. Okay. Delicious coffee. Delicious decaf. Just wear a mask. Yeah, I'll just put on an N95 real quick every time I yawn. Okay. We've been talking about Florida for a while now. There's actually a dedicated playlist on my channel. It's called the Fascism Nexus or something like that. Because Florida has been kind of leading the way in all this anti-trans, we're passing laws, we're restricting access to care, we're doing all this crazy stuff. So you're welcome to check out that playlist if you want to catch up on everything that we've talked about so far. But to recap briefly, some of the things that they've done are prohibiting minors from accessing care, which generally speaking, this gets struck down under the 14th Amendment because generally cis kids are still allowed to use puberty blockers. So you're denying someone care based on who they are and not any real reason. And you're not allowed to treat people differently under the law. And they've also done stuff that restricts the access of adults. Like, for example, they changed the requirements for adults. Like, so tons of trans people get our care from a nurse practitioner. And they changed the requirements basically to where you have to get it from an actual doctor. You know, like Planned Parenthood has a lot of nurse practitioners working there. And they've restricted these things to say, yeah, no, you have to see like a doctor. And there are obviously fewer doctors, and you might have to travel further. And they might be full up in their schedule and not even have time for you. So there are trans people who are like adults who've lost access to their health care because of that restriction. And another thing they did is they just stated that it is not medical care and therefore Medicaid won't cover it. Medicaid is the state insurance. So maybe you can't afford private insurance, you are low income. The state insurance is just like, no, we're not going to cover this. It's not medically necessary. We've just decided. These things have been working their way through the courts. And we've had some good news this time. Okay? Are you ready? When in Florida, restrictions on providing gender-affirming care to trans youth and adults have been found unconstitutional after a full trial and are now permanently enjoined. Huge win by Simone Chris and Southern Legal Counsel. So it's a class action lawsuit. It presents a constitutional challenge to a Florida statute and rules that 1, prohibit trans minors from receiving specific kinds of widely accepted gender-affirming medical care, and 2, impose restrictions on how such care can be provided to adults or to minors who are grandfathered in and who are allowed to continue receiving care they were receiving before the statute and rules took effect. The case has been tried to the court. This court has set out the conclusions. Florida statute is unconstitutional to the extent it prohibits gender-affirming care for individuals who have reached or passed Tanner Stage 2. That's a certain stage of puberty. This Florida statute is unconstitutional to the extent that it prohibits a licensed individual acting within the scope of the license from 1, assisting a supervising physician in administering or performing gender-affirming care, or 2, filling a prescription issued by a physician or for adults issued by a licensed individual acting within the scope of the license, or 3, providing gender-affirming care to adults. So yeah, just basically laying out, this is within the scope of care that these people are equipped to give. Like if a nurse is able to dole out all these different prescriptions, generally under the supervision of a physician, like, okay, you're allowed to administer, like if you're allowed to administer the same medication to a cis person, but you've denied them the ability to issue it to a trans person, again, why is that different? Under the law, it's not. Like, it shouldn't be. This other statute is unconstitutional to the extent it authorizes disciplinary action or makes it a crime to violate a provision of a statute or rule this order declares unconstitutional. So, yeah, they're trying to like basically take away people's medical licenses if they were to continue providing this care. These other administrative rules are unconstitutional to the same extent as the previous and also as set out in these other paragraphs. And I think that's all that she provided on here. Is there anything else over here? No. We could go and read the entire full decision and go into all the details. But basically, you know, with this one challenged statute prohibits gender-affirming care for minors under the age of 18, subject to a grandfather provision allowing minors to continue to do so who had already received the care. The statute does not prohibit, but instead only imposes restrictions on care for adults. But like, yeah, all this was found to be unconstitutional. This is 100 pages. One noteworthy thing in here, it says, gender identity is real. With extraordinarily rare exceptions not at issue here, every person is born with external sex characteristics, male or female, and chromosomes that match. As the person goes through life, the person also has a gender identity, which is a deeply felt internal sense of being male or female. For more than 99% of people, the external sex characteristics, chromosomes, natal sex match the person's gender identity. For less than 1%, the natal sex and gender identity are opposites. This order refers to these people as transgender. The elephant in the room should be noted at the outset. Gender identity is real. The record makes this clear. The defendants, speaking through their attorneys, have admitted it. At least one defense expert has also admitted it. That expert being Stephen B. Levine, Dr. Stephen B. Levine, the only defense expert who has actually treated a significant number of trans patients. At least in his first appearance as a witness, he addressed the issues conscientiously on the merits rather than as a biased advocate. He was not as forthcoming in his second appearance in this trial, but he explicitly stood by the prior testimony, and he again acknowledged that gender-affirming care is sometimes appropriate. The defendants have explicitly admitted that prohibiting or impeding individuals from pursuing their transgender identities is not a legitimate state interest. Yeah, the defendants themselves. The record shows beyond any doubt that a significant number of legislators and others involved in the adoption of these rules at issue pursued this admittedly illegitimate interest. For some, the denial that trans identity is real is not different in kind or intensity from the animus that has attended racism and misogyny, less as time has passed, but still today. And some transgender opponents invoke religion to support their position, just as some once invoked religion to support their racism or misogyny. Transgender opponents are of course free to hold such beliefs, but they are not free to discriminate against transgender individuals just for being transgender. So yeah, this keeps going for a long time, but that was, I think, the segment that was most worth looking at. Just like, gender identity is real. And the defendants, in this case, like, the defendants refers to the state of Florida, basically. They were admitting, that there isn't like a state interest in this. There isn't like a particular state reason to limit this access. No vested interest. Excuse me. That's an interesting point. These laws also make kids on puberty blockers who are on them for cancer or hormonal conditions like intersex conditions might now face survival guilt. Eric says, my partner is dealing with that as a survivor of an aggressive childhood cancer. Imagine having so little empathy, you not only take medical care from trans kids, but while you're forcing intersex kids to have them, you are traumatizing kids on the same meds for cancer or hormonal issues. Yeah, to say, oh, yeah, I was given this care, but trans kids are being denied it. Wild. Yeah, I'm sure Meatball Ron is so happy about this. So good news, everyone, from the state of Florida. It sucks there, but at least the courts are making this make sense. Now, we always have to end these segments by pointing out that this does not necessarily mean that the court case is going to stop here. This case comes from the Northern District of Florida, Tallahassee Division, and it could get appealed to the state Supreme Court, and it could get appealed to the District Appeals Court, and then it could get appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. So this doesn't necessarily mean that it's over unless the state Supreme Court and the appeals court, they just go, well, no, we're not going to see this. We've decided that the lower court ruled correctly on this, but there is always a chance with these things that it could work its way up over the next couple of years to this level of Supreme Court. And that might not be great, but at least for today, it's a win. We can hope. Again, 14th Amendment, you should not be able to treat people differently under the law just because of who they are. It should be a pretty open and shut case. So yeah, happy Pride. Wow. Aren't we so happy? Amazing. Okay. Okay, do we have anything else that we need to add here, or is that basically it? I don't think there's anything else I'm going to add on this. I'm going to go ahead and just put this in the notes. Put it in the notes. Okay. My voice is getting tired. Thomas can always make up some random bullshit like he did with abortion or bump stocks. I mean, yeah, there is that. I'm not going to add this in the segment because I wanted to end on a positive note for once, but the whole this isn't rooted in our nation's history, this isn't deeply rooted in our nation's history thing. Girl, please. DeSantis has already said it will be appealed. Of course it will. I feel like the end goal here is to defund and limit healthcare rights overall, TBH. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised by that. I'm not really sure how they're gonna do that precisely. But, like, female reproductive healthcare is under attack. Trans healthcare is under attack. Everything else is already so expensive. Like, I guess you could say in general that health has been under attack for a while if you consider how many people have been rationing insulin for the last 10 years. So, that's why I want to live in a more stable state. I want to live somewhere more stable. Yay. If I'm moving in, like, December, when should I start the GoFundMe? That's the question. If I'm just gonna set the goal for, like, I can't decide, like, either $3,000 or $5,000, something like that, which will not cover it all. I am going to be saving up money in the meantime. Like, the amount of money I'm asking for on GoFundMe will not cover the entire move. But if I'm trying to raise several $1,000s, then when should I start the GoFundMe? Should I just start it now? Or should I wait until, like, August? I don't know. We have one story left. I feel like disability rights have been going down for a while, and it's just something most people won't talk about. So much of this can be tied to ableism. Sure. And especially, like, you know, millions of people. At the last time I checked, at least 4 million people cannot work. August has no holidays, could be good. I mean, there's no major holidays in June or July. I mean, I guess July has, like, 4th of July. But that's the thing, is, like, you want the first week of the GoFundMe to be, like, pretty good. So you have to select your timing. Maybe, like, late July. And it's not like Father's Day is a big traveling holiday, even though we just had it. Is 4th of July a travel holiday? Do people travel for the 4th? Is this like an I'm gonna go home to visit my folks holiday? Do people do that? It is Father's Day today. Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, this is what happens when you have bad relationships with your parents. Like, you forget when Mother's and Father's Day are. Bad relationships with my parents. But yeah, there's so many people who are unable to work or unable to work full-time anymore. And we're just putting even more strain on all these. It's like, okay, many more people want disability benefits now, and they cannot get them because it's already... Basically, you should always expect that you will not get disability benefits the first time you apply. You will get denied, and you will have to appeal at least once or twice. That's just how it works. And that's already without the additional millions of people from COVID. People do love getting out of the city and flooding small towns that have good fireworks. Fair enough. The 4th was a traveling holiday for my family. Okay. So maybe, like, yeah, the end of July. or early August, I'll actually publish the GoFundMe. I already started working on it. So, yeah. Sorry, that's probably really annoying. I'm having fun, though. This is me fidgeting today. My fidget. I cannot leave my job to file for disability, so I'm stuck working while disabled. Yeah, that's the deal, too. Is you have to actually be out of work for a period of time and, like, demonstrate that you can't work. So if you're able to work and it destroys your ability to do anything outside of work, and you only live to, like, wake up in the morning, go to work, and then come home and crash and do nothing for the rest of the evening, they don't care. That's not disabled according to them. I've always lived in vacation towns, so why travel? We have one story left, and we have 117 likes. Isn't that wonderful? Sounds like the system working as intended for all the venom that implies. Yeah. They don't want to pay out for disability. This is something that people have commented on as well on my other channel, where, you know, I'm talking about basically trying to supplement my food on the real chance that food is not as available in the store anymore, you know? Like foraging and farming and hunting and fishing, you know. And there have been disabled people who are like, I would not be able to live if I needed to live off of the land like this. So if there are big food shortages, then I'm just not really interested in, like, living anymore. So I do think, like, that's probably something that I want to make sure I discuss on that channel is, like, what can you do if you are disabled? And also emphasizing, like, this is why it's so important to establish community and have friends. And, you know, like, you might not be able to work the land, but if I bring home rabbits, can you skin them? Can you gut them? Like, can you make food while you're sitting down? Can you cut vegetables while you're sitting down? Like, can you walk for, like, an hour a day? Because you might be able to go out and feed the chickens. You know, like, there's not... I have celiac and tons of food allergies. Well, you don't have to worry so much about celiac in that situation because you're not going to be in a position where flour and bread are being added to everything. Because listen, girl, bread is very difficult to make, like, from scratch. It takes way more square feet of wheat than you think it does in order to make, like, 1 pound of flour. I've seen some people do it on like, YouTube, where they're like, hey, here's the wheat that I've been growing, and I grew it, and then I processed all of it, and then I ground it into flour, and then we made 2 loaves of bread. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. I can't work the land, but I can cook, sew, restore furniture, can work with plow and riding horses. See, listen, there are other skills. It's not like I'm expecting every person to do everything on their own. That's not reasonable. I'm not going to be doing everything on my own. I can't do everything on my own. A blackwater fish system? Is that what you meant to type? You'll just have to hire an able-bodied 18-year-old boy that can listen to install a small tilapia tank and a few garden buckets in your living room. I'm allergic to mammal meat thanks to alpha-gal. Oh, did you get bit by a tick? I guess I live off of chicken and turkey. Yeah. And you gotta grow lots of soy. Yeah, fish. Okay. And listen, someone's gotta have horses so that we can have estrogen for the girlies. But yeah, disability is definitely one of those things that gets overlooked way more than it should, considering that everybody, if you live long enough, you will become disabled. That's what being old is, functionally. Lone Star Tick, Alabama is dumb, don't go camping there. I have also heard that if you just avoid all mammal products for a few years, you can get better, and that allergy will go away. But that's kind of hard to do. I heard years back that black tea is good at inhibiting your body's uptake of mercury from fish. So we gotta drink black tea so that we can eat fish more often. I want to Google that. Can fish... Hold on. Can tea help with mercury levels? People have done studies to show that chemical compounds in green tea called catechins, minerals such as selenium, and thiols from herbs like coriander can bind mercury and can protect a little from mercury's toxicity, but none of these can act as absolute protectors, says the first link here. This one says green tea. This is from the actual the Library of Medicine. Green tea increases the concentration of total mercury in the blood of rats following an oral fish tissue bolus. Fish has many benefits, but it is also the most common source of methylmercury. The bioavailability of methylmercury in fish may be affected by other meal components. In this study, the effect of green tea on the bioavailability of methylmercury from an oral bolus of fish muscle tissue was studied in rats and compared to a water-treated control group and a group treated with meso-2,3-dimercaptosuccinic acid, a compound used to medically chelate mercury. Rats were given a single oral dose of fish tissue via gavage, and one of the treatments, rats were given access to food for 3 hours at 12-hour intervals. They were dosed with each of the treatments with each meal. Blood samples were collected for 95 hours. Green tea significantly increased the concentration of total mercury in blood relative to the control, whereas DMSA significantly decreased it. In addition, feeding caused a slight increase in blood mercury for several meals following the initial dose. What is the conclusion on that? Like, is it good? If there's more mercury in the blood, does that mean it's not being reuptaken into the body? This is giving me pharmacology class flashbacks. Ah, sorry. Conclusion. Green tea increases the concentration of total mercury in rat blood following dietary intake of fish. Meals increase slightly the blood concentration of mercury in control green tea or DMSA-treated rats that have consumed mercury-containing fish. Is that a desirable outcome? Sorry, I just had to scroll past a lot of shit to find the conclusion. Is that the desirable outcome? You want more of it in the blood because then you're not absorbing it? Fish you grow yourself has no mercury in it. 50 gallons of water can hold 100 fully grown tilapia and many adolescents. They live in schools and only need their own body amount of water to live. Where do they get mercury? Like, where do they get it in their environment? Is it something that they're eating? The first paragraph of the discussion section implies that that is the desirable result. Oh my god, where? Okay, yeah, from our previous studies which demonstrated that green tea decreased the bioaccessibility of mercury from fish, it was reasonable to hypothesize that green tea would reduce mercury bioavailability in vivo. Other in vitro digestion studies have shown that green tea significantly decreased the bioaccessibility of mercury from fish tissue. All of the polyphenols present in tea are known to chelate metals. Previous studies have shown that green tea can affect the body's mineral status. In a human study designed to study the effect of green tea on obesity, it was found that 3 months of green tea supplementation significantly decreased serum iron levels and significantly increased magnesium and zinc status. Green tea was also shown to have a high absorptive capacity for heavy metals. Other nutritional factors, such as wheat bran, have been shown to decrease the absorption of methylmercury. So hypothetically, if you drink green tea with your fish, it will prevent your body from absorbing the mercury? Mercury is industrial runoff. Okay. The second paragraph says they got the opposite result that they expected. Oh my god, that paragraph is... Can someone teach these people how to... I just want to show you this paragraph. This is one paragraph. Why? Mercury comes from farming, it gets into the water and is eaten by plankton and then fish, so it accumulates up the food chain. So fish like tuna and salmon are the top-level predators, will have the most of it. That's also true with microplastics. Cool, so this is fun, because we've been fishing and everything, and you're really not supposed to eat wild-caught fish more than, like, once a week, because of the mercury. So if you could just drink green tea with your meal, and it reduces the bioavailability of mercury, then, yeah, I mean, you can hypothetically eat fish more often. Yeah, binding a substance to the mercury will allow it to pass out of the body instead of being absorbed by the muscle. It's a typical scientific paper paragraph, aka not meant for humans to read it. I know I edited what you said a little bit to make it funnier to me. Excuse me. Yawn, oh my goodness. This is what happens when you wake up at 6 a.m. after going to bed at like 11. $119 likes on the video. No one wants to see me flex anymore. No one cares. You don't want to see the guns. Too bad, so sad. More farming in your area means more metals in the water. There will also be higher lithium and cobalt levels with runoff from battery mining. Is there any amount of, like, filtering the water that you can do? No, you're fine, kitty tick. I'm mostly joking anyway. Saving all my money for dog cancer right now. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I got top marks once on an essay where my final paragraph was one long sentence and the last word of the sentence was missing. So academia does not actually teach good writing either. I kind of just meant, like, if I had my own, like, let's say I have a greenhouse, and inside the greenhouse I have a aquaponics system where there's, like, fish, and then the plants are growing down into the water, and I'm gonna, like, occasionally eat the fish, and, like, eat the, you know, the vegetables, right? Can I personally set up a filtration system so that my fish don't have mercury? Won't be really fishing in that case. I guess, like, yeah, once a week have some wild-caught fish. And then otherwise, if I'm gonna eat fish, just eat the tilapia that I'm growing. Distilled water. That's true. Because distilled water doesn't have anything else in it. Use a peat moss bog for a filter. And use well water from a subduction well to start your pond. I'm gonna have to ask you so many questions, Kitty. when we actually have land, I'm gonna have so many questions for you. Because I'm not gonna remember any of this shit. $120 likes. Wow. Wow. Okay. One last story, and it's about an intersex kitten. Unless you introduce mercury into the life cycle of your aquaponic systems, there will be relatively no mercury in your fish. Cool. We should do a segment for your other channel sometime. Yeah, and then I'll actually remember. Or at least I'll be able to go back. I see, I haven't decided... So currently there are stream clips on that channel. But I don't know if I want to put stream clips over there anymore. Or if I want it to be more like... only videos where I'm outside. Like, I do a vlog outside, or I take pictures while I'm fishing, or, you know, something along those lines. I just haven't decided. I'm leaning toward not wanting to do clip content over there, but I'm not completely opposed. Ooh, yawn. Okay. I mean, a lot of this stuff is not going to be relevant for me for a couple of years, Kitty Tick. Like, we're about to move, and we're going to be renting. And then from there, we're going to try to figure out, like, okay, let's buy a place. And it's like, I would love to keep my renting time to a minimum. Like, it would be great if I moved to Oregon, and I sign 1-year lease, and then I buy a house within that 1 year. Cool, that would be great. Not super likely. If for no other reason than the move itself is going to be very expensive. So realistically, it's probably going to be like 3 years before I'm in a position to buy a house. Ugh. We're going to talk about the intersex cat. And then I'll probably get out of here. Happy Pride. There's been more conversation about intersex people nowadays than there has been previously. You know, we're much nicer about the way that we talk about it, generally speaking, because there used to be other terms that we would use besides intersex, and we've determined, like, okay, this is like the polite way to talk about this. A lot of the times trans people invoke intersex folks when we're having discussions about access to hormones and things. Personally, I'm of the opinion that it's quite a different experience to have this thing done to you when you were a kid, and, like, you know, maybe you had surgery done on you and you didn't even know what was going on. It's definitely a different situation, right? But have you ever heard of an intersex kitten? Not like a Discord kitten, but like a kitten, like a cat kitten. In Oregon, an intersex kitten called a unicorn in this article has been adopted. The name is Cinder, formerly Cindy, is a rare intersex kitten which was taken to the Humane Society of Central Oregon. This is just for fun. This is just a little fun story, right? Central Oregon veterinarians are excited about a rare tortoiseshell kitten that was brought into a shelter earlier this spring and adopted into a new family earlier this month. That's because the kitten, Cinder, was born intersex with both male and female genitals. I bet this is probably more common than we think, but it's like usually internal changes instead of external changes. The Central Oregon Humane Society announced the news about the kitten on Friday, saying it was like spotting a unicorn. The clinic manager at the shelter said, "Even though I've only been in the veterinary field for 9 years, this very well could be a once-in-a-career moment. They always talked about how rare male tortoise shells are back in school, but seeing one in person is something else." Because, yeah, tortoise shell cats are usually female, and, like, calicos are usually female. Every male tortie is intersex. It's, like, 1 out of 3,000 cats. Cool. And then, yeah, like, conversely, the orange cats are typically male. Cinder was brought into the shelter in April and adopted into a permanent home in June. So this little kitty has been adopted. This cat looks so bemused. It's like, I don't know what you're doing. Tortie pattern requires 2 X chromosomes. Nice. Due to a stroke of genetics, tortoiseshell-colored cats known for their swirling coats of black and orange are almost always female, and while Cinder does have some female genitals, including what appears to be a vulva, the shelter said it does not have a uterus or ovaries and was born instead with a pair of testicles, which have been removed. Why would you do that? Just leave it alone. Why? I guess that's, like, not uncommon for cats so that they don't spray. They'll take the balls off of the cats so they don't spray everywhere. I thought that nowadays it was more like a vasectomy, though. I don't know. Whatever. Crystal Bloodworth, medical director for the shelter, said now that Cinder has been neutered, it will grow up appearing to be female. However, given the anatomy at birth, the shelter has opted to label the kitten as male. To call it a male is tough, but with the binary nature of animals and people's perception of animals, we chose male. Why is there not just an option for neither or both? Incidence of hermaphroditism in cats is not unheard of. Like humans, intersex cats can be born with variations of male and female genitalia. This cat likely has 3 chromosomes, XXY, with 2 X's that allow for the tortoiseshell coloring and a Y that allows for the testicles. As far as I know, orchiectomy is typical for animals. Yeah, I honestly wonder if this is part of why cats and dogs don't live as long. Because for humans, if you remove our gonads entirely, that's not good for us. Like, it causes bone density issues and other, like, fatigue and other health issues. Why neuter it when it's so rare? Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming that's just because it was typical practice. So weird. They found out that the cat was intersex when they were doing a spay surgery on it, because it has vulva on the outside, so they were like, oh, we're going to remove, or whatever they do during a spay. I'm not sure exactly what they do during a spay, but they went in there and they were going to do surgery on it, or maybe they did an ultrasound first. I don't know how this works. But yeah, the cat was renamed Cinder. The cat is currently being spoiled with new beds, toys, food, treats, and lots of love. Cinder getting to know their new family in Oregon. That's such a cute cat. What a beautiful baby. I love you. I love you so much. I love you. Good kitty. Good kitty. Shelters generally neuter because there are already too many feral cats out there and people will let their cats out. Yeah, that's fair enough. It does cost more, but I wait until my dogs are fully grown before I spay and neuter. It helps with several things. Yeah, the vet opened up the cat and went, sorry, what? So yeah, there's no real point to this story other than, like, isn't nature cool? And also, isn't this cat adorable? It doesn't know what's going on. Look at those beautiful... It's like the eyes look almost green in this picture, and then down here they look more like brown. What a cutie pie. What a baby! My cat boy has his balls but was neutered. I didn't know that was abnormal. He is more muscular than most cats. I wonder if it's because he has testicles. I have noticed when male cats get fixed, they do tend to become very fat afterwards. Which is fine, because we love big fat cats. But that would make sense if they were actually being given orchiectomies instead of just like a little snip of the vas def. Yes. Good baby. Wonderful baby. We love them. All right, now I'll put that in my notes. We have done the kitty news. Does this mean we have to make another flag for intersex cats? Just take the current intersex flag and put 2 little triangles on top of the circle. You know what I mean? Just take this flag and then just put 2 little, like, just stick 2 triangles on top of it. There you go. Now it's an intersex cat flag. Yeah, exactly. The circle is just a cat. We don't even need it. We don't need to give it a little face or anything. Just give it 2 little triangles right up top there. Okay, now it's going in my notes. Kitty, kitty. There we go. Now we have like 4 segments from today's show that I can edit and put on the channel. And we'll stream again on Wednesday, and on and on and on and on and on it goes. On and on forever. Yeah, the intersex flag is one of the more minimalist flags. It's nice. Oh my god. Well, y'all. That was today's show. I think we might be just about ready to call it for today. Unfortunately, no flex. Sorry. Ready to chill. Gonna cook some dinner later. So, gonna try to recover for a couple hours. Yeah, this is the song that never ends. It's true. So, yep. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. It was nice getting a little break. I went to that barbecue that I go to every year, and then taking the Wednesday off this week I think was a good call. I worked really hard on my computer to make sure it would be functional, and I still have some work to do so that I make sure that I have all my recordings and everything. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out and for your advice and for your commentary, all that stuff. It's always a wonderful time hanging out with y'all. And as usual, you can always join up in the Discord. We can continue these conversations over there. Getting a promotion, hell yeah. Yeah, okay, what's up, Groove Wonder? Cool, I'm gonna not remember that probably later, but it's okay. So, thank you all for chilling. I will be seeing you on Wednesday. All right?